KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
9 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. KSL's top story this hour. Tribal authorities say the bears have been seen near the community building and senior citizen housing. Michaela Thornton saw one of them climb up a tree.
I didn't know that there was two. It's kind of crazy that they're running around town.
Some residents joke the bears dropped by to be part of a Ute tribal nation tradition that happened over the weekend. The Bear Dance, celebrating the start of spring. Tribal Fish and Wildlife Dispatch say they're working on trapping the bears and warn you if you see a bear, do not approach it. Call the wildlife authorities. 2 teens are recovering after a rollover crash in Santaquin this weekend. The Utah County Sheriff's Office says the 2 were on an ATV when it rolled off the trail and down the side of a hill. They had severe bleeding and critical injuries and were airlifted to nearby hospitals. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. The American who was one of the Americans who was on the cruise ship where the hantavirus outbreak originated has now tested positive for the virus. ABC News medical contributor Dr. Darian Sutton says the facility is high-tech and that the virus itself doesn't spread that easily when compared to the flu or COVID.
This facility in Omaha is a state-of-the-art biocontainment facility built to protect against or prevent the most infectious diseases. Now, it's important to note that this virus is not an infectious disease or considered that because it actually has a hard time transferring from person to person only under specific conditions. For example, a boat with close spaces, high-touch surfaces, and a lot of people in close proximity. But with that being said, and this new finding of this additional person testing positive, it is very likely that we will see an escalation of the preventative services or techniques that are used to prevent the spread of this infection.
The passengers confirmed with the virus are in Atlanta. Your money at this moment, the Dow up 36 points to 49,645. Coming up, we still got lots of slowdowns out there and a super hot day, so we'll tell you about traffic and weather together next. KSL News Time, 9:02.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Ask yourself this question. Is it really worth holding on to that timeshare that you know you need to get rid of? Here's the truth. The average maintenance fee just went up over 17%. That could have been 117%, and there's nothing you can do about it. When you buy a timeshare, you give them a blank check for annual maintenance and assessment fees. I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group. For 15 years, I've helped over 50,000 families cancel their timeshare. Not sell it, not transfer it, cancel it. Did you buy a timeshare because they told you it was a great investment and your maintenance fees would never go up? That's a lie. Are you ready to get rid of your timeshare once and for all? Simply call us and I'll send you our timeshare exit kit that explains all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your timeshare exit kit. 800-979-3535. That's 800-979-3535. 800-979-3535.
Wait! Before you change the station, listen to this.
1877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today. 1877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Donate your car at carsforkids.org. That's cars with a K. Pickup is quick and easy. You'll also get a vacation voucher and a tax deduction.
1877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today. 1877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today. Donate your car today.
Kitchen and bath transformations start with AMC Building Materials. AMC Building Materials is a large kitchen cabinet and countertop supplier serving both wholesale and retail customers. AMC offers factory direct pricing on all interior remodeling materials, giving you exceptional value without sacrificing quality. Most standard items are available for quick payment and pickup right away. AMC Building Materials provides professional service, free design, and free on-site measurements, along with expert installation by top AMC professionals. From bold kitchen designs to beautiful functional bathrooms, AMC delivers outstanding value with styles you'll love. And best of all, most projects can be completed within just 10 days. Come experience beauty you can see, quality you can feel, and service you can trust. Get directions to the new AMC Building Materials showroom at 3678 South 700 West today and schedule your free estimate. Visit amckitchenslc.org. That's amckitchenslc.org.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by UCCU. Earn 4.24% on savings at UCCU.com. Here's Cormac Bone.
Right now, heaviest delays are eastbound on the 201 freeway from Bangerter Highway over past I-215's westbelt, and that's due to a crash that was blocking a left lane and shoulder just before Redwood Road. We're also seeing those heavy southbound delays on I-215's westbelt approaching the 201 freeway due to those ramp closures. Northbound I-15 still seeing its delays approaching Bangerter Highway and at the south interchange, and from 3300 south up to 13 south, and South 15 still a little slow from North Salt Lake all the way down to 600 north. Spring has blossomed in Box Elder County. History, recreation, and wildlife, and excellent dining and shopping await you. Learn more at visitboxeldercounty.com. Produced in cooperation with the Utah Office of Tourism. Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather today looking at record high heat, and the next 3 days actually. Today temperatures could reach 91 degrees, 93 tomorrow, 90 on Wednesday before we dip back out. Right now, though, 68 degrees in Salt Lake City. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Well, this is not the way those of us that live in the new Ogden Valley City wanted to start the week, Holly, but we're learning that there's a potential of 500% property tax increase. As you recall, the city was formed last year. There was a vote by the residents of Huntsville, Eden, and Liberty up in the Ogden Valley, which is just east of Ogden City, up by Pineview Reservoir, to incorporate that valley into what's now being called Ogden Valley City. The city officials there have told us that they may have to increase our city's portion of the property taxes by 519%. Yow.
A lot. Look, so I think you might be justified in saying, I told you so.
Yeah, well, and I was. So I told my wife and her friends were all behind this. They were pushing it. This is great. We can get free of the county's restrictions. We can have our own destiny. We'll be a city, and we can face what we want to do. And I said, don't do it. We're just duplicating services. It's going to cost more money. The county's doing a great job. Anyway, it's neither here nor there. But I did tell my wife, I told you so this morning. I thoroughly enjoyed that.
Okay, look, I do have some questions, and I think a lot of people probably have questions as well. So how it feels like they were taken by surprise by this.
Yeah.
How could they be taken by surprise by this?
I'll tell you how, and I'm not blaming anyone, but when a city wants to form, when a municipality wants to form a city and become incorporated, they go through the lieutenant governors for what's called a process, anticipated revenue sources. And so the lieutenant governor did that and said that if you incorporate, you will likely have a 5% budget surplus. So they did an incorporation fee. It's called a feasibility study. That's what I was trying to think of the word. So to incorporate, you have a feasibility study done by the state. Feasibility study came back and said, boy, you're doing really well up there. You will have a 5% budget surplus. Instead, they had a $2.2 million budget deficit. So
where's the disconnect?
I think that they miscalculated. I think the lieutenant governors miscalculated, and I don't blame anyone in particular, what the property values were up there and what they were going to get. They said that the property tax increase would not be necessary. Of course, now it is. So it's hard to say, and I don't know that I want to blame anyone or there's really blame to be had, but the people in Ogden Valley are concerned about what the Lieutenant Governor's office did and saying, you miscalculated this. Lieutenant Governor's office, I think, indicated that they had some bad information provided by the area that they used to rely on this. But so it's not a 500% across the board property tax increase. It's a 500% portion that is set aside for the city. So, for example, last year, if you had a median price home of, let's say, I think the median price in that area is $672,000.
Okay.
Your property taxes last year would have been $58.79 for the city's portion. Next year it will be $364.22. So it increased by fivefold. Now, if you have a house that's worth more than that, I'm looking at, let's say, $1 million house or $2 million house, which there are many of those, your property taxes will go from, just the city's portion of the property taxes will go from about $180 to $1,100. So it's a huge increase, depending on the value of the house.
So we had a texter earlier when you came in and teased this and said, is this part of, does it include county taxes or the parts that's set aside for the state? And you're saying that it's not. It really is just the city portion. So it's not that your total tax bill is going to increase by 5 times.
No, not at all. Not at all. So the tax, your tax bill was, several $1,000s, and it'll go up by a significant amount, but not by 5 times.
It's 5 times one portion of that. So
Exactly.
The other thing too about the story that stood out to me is that they can't actually raise the taxes. And do you want to tell me why they can't do that?
So what happened was this: the city was supposed to have had their paperwork together in January to form the city and create a budget. They didn't have it done in time, so they can't legally increase taxes until next year. Well, they don't have till next year, so they have to have a special session of the Utah legislature and see if they can get an exemption from the Utah lawmakers to do that. And which will probably happen because the Utah legislature does have special sessions periodically. It's not like I don't think the government
don't have anything scheduled yet, but
and they probably won't just for this. I can't imagine that they would. I mean, maybe they will, but the city officials. I mean, this was a brand new city. I mean, it's been like watching, something that I've never seen before, like the creation of a city.
Yeah,
not
sure,
that it doesn't
sure.
happen.
Sure.
Some of us were against it. Some people were for it. My wife and I we canceled each other's votes out, so to speak. And so it's been interesting to see how it formed. The new city officers are great. I think that they were all very good people. They just completely miscalculated how much money was going to be brought in under the current tax schedule as it relates to funding the city. So what happens is you have services that the city has and that the county was doing historically, and for whatever reason, it's going to cost a lot more to do it in the city's perspective than it would have been for the county.
So if they don't get permission from the legislature, they'll just have to wait until the next budget year. Is that right?
They'll have a huge shortfall, $2.2 million, because
for one fiscal year.
Yeah, under Utah law, a city cannot file bankruptcy. You can't file a bankruptcy, so you just have a huge shortfall of $2.2 million, and then the next year they'll have to have an even bigger increase to make up the shortfall. So nobody wants to do that. They want to collect the money. They want to make sure this can get done. I think it will all work out. I mean, it's easy for me to say because I think what I feel bad for, there's a lot of senior people in that area that lived on a fixed income, and so a hike, even if it's only $300 or $400 a year, is going to be significant. And then we're also hearing that they want to impose a transportation utility fee of $20 to $25 a month for road maintenance. So there's going to be another $300 a year in addition to the other $1,000 a year that you'll pay in taxes. So it's a hit for a lot of the people up there. Certainly, it's an affluent area. People are doing well. The house values have increased just off the charts up there. It's a pretty area. It's surrounded by 3 ski resorts and a reservoir. But yeah, somebody miscalculated, and it doesn't matter who. That we just have to figure out how.
Do you think that the miscalculation came about maybe because the snow pack was so bad and the ski resorts didn't bring in as much, or is that just too current and you're working off the last fiscal year?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't see anything thing that confirms that. I don't know what the miscalculation was about. It seems like somebody didn't understand what property values and what they were paying toward the county was. So I don't know how this happened. It'll be interesting to find out.
All right. Well, the governor is apologizing for recent comments he made about those who were opposed to projects like the data center coming to Box Elder County. And then he says the changes that will happen will appease local concerns, and we'll talk about what he is saying when we come back after this break.
I'm Utah tax attorney Jordan Wilcox. Don't face the IRS alone.
I was self-employed, and I got behind on my taxes. And then 1 year became 2 years and 3 years, and $116,535.47 to be exact. It just became overwhelming. Finally, I went to another tax company, and they were more interested in how good they were than helping me. I heard about Jordan and talking to the other people who'd done and been in the same situations that I was in, and their tax problems seemed just like mine. And so I went to Jordan, and it was amazing. They were able to negotiate it down to $5,200, and life became wonderful to me.
Don't face the IRS alone. You need a tax attorney that's not afraid to fight for you. Visit endtaxworry.com to schedule your free consultation. That's endtaxworry.com.
I will be forever grateful.
Are you an adult with uncontrolled moderate to severe Crohn's disease symptoms and still packing a backup bag of clothes? Just in case, Skyrizi Risankizumab Riza can help you take control of your Crohn's. Feel significant symptom relief, including less abdominal pain and fewer bowel movements at 4 weeks. Plus, Skyrizi is proven to help people achieve remission and visibly improve damage of the intestinal lining. Individual results may vary. Skyrizi is a prescription injection medicine. Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines. Liver problems leading to hospitalization may occur when treated for Crohn's. Ready to take control of your Crohn's? Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 prescribed biologic in Crohn's disease.
The next 3 days, actually. Day 2.
Learn more at skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI.
We all want our kids to grow up safe and healthy, so we show them how. With honest conversations that let them know what we expect. That's especially important when it comes to alcohol and other drugs. And when it comes to pain medications, opioids, they need to know that they should never be shared with friends or family. For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
For hearts that love. For hearts that care. For hearts that comfort. For hearts that heal. We care for them all. At Common Spirit Health, we know that each patient is unique. That's why our cardiology team is committed to caring for every kind of heart. Find heart care near you at mountain.commonspirit.org.
We asked parents who adopted teens to share their journey.
There are many times I thought, I can't do this. I mean, what parent isn't worried about? What am I not doing right? What am I not doing enough? And then I realized, wait, that's being a parent.
Don't worry about being perfect. I've had around 3 other mother figures in my life, but only one of them has taught me how a mother loves.
The greatest reward for me is he makes me better every day.
I would tell a family considering adopting a teenager that teenager, whoever it is, needs you, and they need what you have to offer.
Taylor's given me hope. He's our son, and that is what he will always be.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to learn more. A message brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
Since 1947, Whipple Service Champions has been Utah's most trusted name for heating, cooling, plumbing, and electrical services. Got a high-priced repair bill from another company and you're just not sure about it? Call Whipple. Get a free, no-pressure estimate or bring us their quote for an honest second opinion. Totally free. Whipple Service Champions, Utah's first place for second opinions since 1947. Call 385-273-7167 for your free estimate today. 385-273-7167.
911 coming.
exactly what happened.
My son and his wife and their 2 children haven't responded.
Susan Powell disappeared on a snowy morning in 2009.
Your wife is missing, Josh.
Yeah, but I've
And you want to think about it for a couple of days?
The podcast, Cold, has gone deep on these kinds of stories.
I'd had this overwhelming feeling that he had done something to her already.
Clearly, something happened on that couch because he cleaned it.
Find and follow Cold wherever you get your podcasts.
Inside Sources.
The debate over the proposed data center in Box Elder County continues, and the governor says he's working to make sure that Great Salt Lake is protected throughout the whole process.
And if you recall, he made some comments at a recent news conference. He's now apologizing, or at least backing off of those a little bit. He was really impatient with the people who were opposing this and this kind of development. He said that these people were destroying our country.
And that's, we talked about that on the show. It was so surprising to come from the governor, especially when he's been talking so much about disagreeing better. But I will say that when he posted on X, formerly Twitter, this long series of here's what we're doing and here's how we're addressing their concerns, people's concerns. And so one of the things I think is positive is that the governor said, look, there are real concerns. These are real Utahns with real concerns. So let's talk about them.
Yeah. And I think to reset, what happened was, and I think most of our listeners are probably up to speed on this, but the data center had a hearing before the Box Elder County Commission. They approved, or at least they moved it on. They had a resolution that, hey, we can move this project forward. And the governor came out in a way that I think surprised a lot of people and said, hey, we need to, these projects are good for the state. They're good for the people. The red tape is a problem. People who are standing in the way of this are not concerned about our country. In fact, they're destroying our country. We need to move this forward. And I think people were just like taken aback, going, well, wait a minute,
yeah,
we still should do feasibility studies. We should still do environmental studies. There's things that should happen. And he was having none of it. It surprised me, and it surprised a lot of Utahns. And I think he's probably now rethinking his position, saying, well, at least in terms of the Great Salt Lake and the greater area up there, because it is a huge tract of land, 40,000 acres.
Right.
Maybe we should take a breath and take a look at the project again.
I think one of the things to note, right, is that we've talked about this before too, that maybe they were surprised by the public backlash. But in fact, I would say this: the Salt Lake Tribune did an editorial. Their editorial board said the biggest problem with this is now the lack of trust, right? It's people aren't even saying this is a terrible idea, we shouldn't do this, although some people are, right? But some people are saying, look, this process has been really rushed. It feels confusing. There have been mixed messages. I mean, it's Kevin O'Leary, I think, the Shark Tank guy, is like, well, we're going to use renewables, but the pitch was we're using 100% natural gas. And so, well, what is it, right? Because not even that is clear. So let me say this. So when the governor was posting this weekend on X, he said the first thing he started with was the project size.
Right.
So he says the project developers agreed to focus all approval requests for the project in a phased approach, with the first phase not to exceed 1.5 gigawatts. So remember, we talked about it was going to produce and consume up to 9 gigawatts, which is more than twice what the state currently uses for the entire state.
Yeah, project size in terms of the energy. Not the land use, I guess is what he means. But this is going to take so much energy.
Right.
He said the first phase would not exceed 1.5 gigawatts, which is still a significant amount. I think we decided that the entire state uses like 4.
Yeah.
So that's a third of the entire state's
in the first phase.
Yeah, in the first phase, which could, go up 6 times.
So anyway, to start there, right, instead of saying, okay, we're aiming towards this big 9 gigawatt, we're going to start with 1.5, and then each future project approval would have to be contingent on meeting clear metrics. So the next one is air, of course. And the governor said, in accordance with state law, I'm directing the Utah Department of Environmental Quality to review all air permits to ensure project impacts are limited and our airshed is protected.
So what we learned from this is that it would create put carbon in the air equal to 50% of the total state's carbon output. It would increase.
That's a lot.
It would increase our state's pollution. Let's use the right word here, by 50%. I mean, that's a huge footprint, a huge increase, and I think that surprised a lot of people, because with so many renewable energy resources available, and so many that don't pollute. It was odd that this one was going to be all based on natural gas because there's a pipeline there and they can hook right into it. Right. So it seemed from a cost benefit analysis that made the most sense, but from an air quality and just what they're going to put into the system, it seems like, let's take a second look at this.
There are a number of reports recently, and maybe they're only tangentially related, but how the air quality, the pollution in Utah has led to health impacts, right? Negative health impacts. And so, of course, I think that's part of the equation as well.
Yeah.
Okay, land.
Yeah. So 40,000 acres to start with, but now they're backing off of that a little bit, it seems like, too.
Well, it's not to start with, but that was the amount of land purchased.
Right. But now they're saying this initial phase will be fewer than 2,000 acres.
For the data center.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, I see. Right. Yes.
Right. So we have 40,000 acres overall. And remember that we learned I think along with everybody else, that they're talking about in the future being able to have housing and retail and those types of things on those 40,000 acres. It's not going to be a 40,000 acre building. It never was going to be that.
No,
but
it's not going to be a 2,000 acre building.
Right.
But they're saying the initial permit phase will be for fewer than 2,000 acres. And that's the one that the data center will be built on.
Right.
So then it will go up from there, seemingly. And they said that the developer has agreed to ensure that multi-use activities such as grazing, open space, other things like that will be factored into the development plan. And when we interviewed Lee Perry, the county commissioner, he said, "Look, this is 40,000 acres, but you can't. No building's going to occupy that much space.
Right.
It will be." Then you'll have other things out there. Right now it's grazing. It's kind of open land. It's not really improved at all.
Developed.
So it's not like they're tearing something down. But there are some potential Native American sites there. Apparently, I haven't seen that for sure. And there's some grazing that goes on. Some of that will continue. There might be some other things that are developed there in the land, like retail, and so that when people come off the freeway there, it's north of Snowville, I think. In Box Elder County, they'll have something there other than just drive to the data center. They'll have some resources there.
Well, and it makes sense that you need to have something to support the workers. They anticipate 2,000 full-time employees once this is built, and so they'll need a place to live and shop and send their kids to school, et cetera.
Right.
Okay, so he also talked about energy, and I just said, right, there's mixed messages between, hey, we're going to do 100% natural gas, and now both Kevin O'Leary, but the governor is also saying we want to do renewable energies, we want to be able to do energy storage, nuclear, which I'm surprised I hadn't heard a lot about before because nuclear has been on the table in Utah for a while. So the energy is another key component, of course.
Yeah, and then they say, other renewable sources are available, such as solar farms, but those require a larger footprint. Well, they've got a pretty big footprint. They got 40,000 acres. You could put 10 acres of solar panels up there. I think you could power just about anything.
And then taxes, right? So there was an agreement to lower the tax rate for this big data center.
Significantly.
Yep. But he also says that he supports, this is the governor, supports the interlocal agreement between MIDA, that's the military installation thing.
Right.
And Box Elder County. And then saying, I support Box Elder County leaders utilizing the increased tax revenue to invest in local schools, which they will need, and municipal services, which they will need, and lower property taxes for Box Elder County residents.
Right. And he talked about power. Of course, we mentioned this a little bit, but he says, I'm directing the Utah Public Service Commission to stand by the requirements of Senate Bill 132, which requires that any power development for this specific type of project not negatively impact electricity costs for Utahns. So it can't.
And that's been something that's happened across the nation with other projects is the residents around these larger data centers are seeing their energy costs go up, right? Their electric rates, the utility rates are rising. So he's saying that can't happen.
Yeah. He said this. He said, I also want to say a word about how we engaged in this debate. Utahns care deeply about our land, our water, our rural towns, and the future we leave to the next generation. Strong opinions are welcome. Healthy disagreement is part of good government. But I know my own comments at a recent press conference did not meet the expectations I have for myself. I will seek to do better. Good for him. I mean, because he did come out of the chute pretty hard.
Yeah, pretty hard. So we're going to continue to talk about this, and especially about water, while part of a different data center in a different area of the country found out they were using 30 million additional gallons of water, and it went largely unnoticed.
And water is a huge concern over this particular project.
Huge. Way more of a concern in Utah than it is in Georgia. So we'll talk about that when we come back.
9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. KSL's top story this hour. Today, construction starts at the mouth of Big Cottonwood Canyon at the intersection of Fort Union Boulevard and Wasatch Boulevard. UDOT says the right lane and right turn lane will be closed during daytime work hours. It will cause some temporary slowing, and the project should take about 2 weeks. Delays in Spanish Fort Canyon can be up to 2 hours long as construction commences on a project at Thistle Junction. KSL News Radio's Tammy Kikuchi reports.
UDOT is building a new intersection at Thistle Junction to cut down on the number of accidents and associated fatalities. Spokesman John Gleason says the new intersection will eliminate the need to come to a full stop where U.S. Highway 89 meets up with Highway 6.
We've had a handful of, unfortunately fatal crashes here at this intersection over the years.
UDOT wants to finish the project before winter, so that means construction will continue 24 hours a day, 7 days a week with no breaks for holidays. Gleason says the road was widened from 2 to 4 lanes. New lighting and 9,000 feet of concrete barrier have been added to the canyon to increase safety. The biggest delays will happen during holiday weekends. Tammy Kikuchi, KSL News Radio.
Our top national story this hour from ABC News. President Trump rejecting Iran's latest proposal to end the war. ABC News chief Washington correspondent John Carl.
President Trump didn't say what specifically he objected to in Iran's counteroffer, but the future of Iran's nuclear program has been the major sticking point from the beginning. The president has sent mixed messages on Iran's nuclear material. In an interview last month, he said he didn't care about removing Iran's remaining stockpile of enriched uranium, saying, quote, "That's so far underground, I don't care about that."
The Iranian Foreign Ministry saying the U.S. is, quote, insisting on one-sided views and making unreasonable demands. Your money at this moment, the Dow up 58 points to 49,667. Coming up, we still have some slow spots, especially over on I-215 because of some ramp closures. Traffic and weather is next. KSL News Time, 9:31.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
If you're ready to buy a home or sell a home and you're worried about the current real estate market because of what you've heard from some of your friends or family, well, we're here to tell you that you really shouldn't be worried because now is a great time to buy and sell with our friends at the Stern Team, powered by Omada Real Estate.
And here's why. Buyers have more options due to increased inventory, which gives them the power to negotiate for repairs, interest rate buy-downs, and closing cost assistance. While at the same time, sellers are still getting top dollar for their homes, with home values that are higher today than ever before. So whether you're looking to buy or sell, the current real estate market presents a win-win opportunity for both buyers and sellers.
But you still do want to make sure that you're working with a team of real estate experts you can trust that can get you some great results. And that's our friends at the Stern Team, powered by Omada Real Estate.
They have helped thousands of Salt Lake City homeowners, and they're ready to help you. To get started, just go to thesternteam.com. That's thesternteam.com or Google The Stern Team.
Hey, Utah! Ready to bring the hot tub and swim spa life home? The Utah Hot Tub and Swim Expo is coming to the west parking lot of the Shops at Southtown, right next to I-15. May 8th through May 16th, Utah's biggest hot tub brands are going head-to-head. Bullfrog Spas versus Arctic Spas, competing hard to end up in your backyard. See and test dozens of Utah's best hot tubs and swim spas on display. Save thousands with massive expo-only discounts. Plus, enjoy local service and fast delivery. No out-of-state hassle. Whether you want relaxing hydrotherapy after a long day or a full workout swim spa in your backyard, this is your chance to upgrade for less. Don't miss it. Free to attend. Head to the west parking lot of the Shops at Southtown, May 8th through May 16th. Call or visit GoHotTubbing.com for details and hours. GoHotTubbing.com, Utah's Hot Tub and Swim Spa Expo, where the best brands battle for your backyard bliss.
Progressive provides protection for your boat and other outdoor vehicles so you can explore new things.
Oh, I can finally try pesto.
we meant like water skiing.
I've just never had pesto.
Or maybe take the boat somewhere new.
I mean, is pesto spicy or sweet? Oh, guess we'll find out, right?
Right. Bundle home or auto insurance with your boat, RV, or motorcycle and stay protected with Progressive while you explore.
I don't know. Maybe I'm not ready for pesto.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Not available in all states or situations.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to Markdowns for Miles at AutoZone.
Thanks. Is oil marked down?
Save up to $15 when you buy 5 quarts and a filter.
And fuel treatment?
2 for $9 on Lucas.
Brake pads?
Marked down to free.
Free?
Get free Duralast brake pads when you buy 2 Duralast rotors.
That's several markdowns.
For many more miles.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. Build smart, save big with construction loans at UCCU. Let's go to the traffic center in Cormac Bone.
No delays on I-15 between Provo and Salt Lake, but we are still seeing some southbound I-15 delays, and that's going from Kaysville into Farmington, just a little slow there, and still some residual delays from the morning commute on South 15 from the North Interchange down to 600 North. And we are also seeing these southbound I-215's westbound delays between I-80 and the 201 freeway with those ramp closures giving drivers some grief. And northbound Bangerter Highway also seeing some very slow traffic from the 201 freeway up to California Avenue. Live at the Eccles presents Riverdance, 5 performances Friday through Sunday beginning May 22nd at the Eccles Theater. Tickets at liveeccles.com. Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, we're looking at record high heat today and the next 3 days. Temperatures could reach 91 today, so hope your AC works. Right now it is 70 degrees and clear in Salt Lake City. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We are Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
We've been talking about some of the big concerns for this proposed data center in Box Elder County. And one of the greatest concerns, I think, Holly, is water and how this could affect what ends up getting into the Great Salt Lake.
Yes, and when the governor went on X to describe what's going to be happening with all of these different things, air and land and energy, he did say specifically on water that he wants the Utah Department of Natural Resources to ensure the most environmentally sensitive cooling technology is used so that water and the Great Salt Lake are protected.
Yeah, and the Great Salt Lake is a huge problem. I mean, the timing of this data center couldn't be worse as it relates to water and maybe even for energy generation as well. But we're doing everything we can to get as much water into the Great Salt Lake as possible. So this data center is up in the what I would consider to be the sort of the Bear River drainage area, which is the northern area that puts water into the Great Salt Lake, and that's a significant amount of water that comes from there. So any sort of tweak on that's going to be a problem if it's holding back anything that would be going into the Great Salt Lake. We had heard at one point that this was going to be some sort of a recycled process, that the water would be recycled.
Yeah. So if you remember also, I think it was just Friday where the application was withdrawn, right, to say we want to be able to use these 1,900 acre feet of agricultural water for this data center. They withdrew that, which then nullified basically 5,800 letters of complaint. Yeah, right. So that they're not even looked at. But what happens is I've also seen mixed messaging on this, right? It's agricultural water, and so they can sell those water rights. I've also seen Kevin O'Leary say, well, this is going to be saline water, right? It's going to be salty water. We can't use it anyway for other things. They're like, well, that's not the same. I mean, they are not watering the crops with salty water.
But whether it's agricultural water, whether it's drinking water, whether it's salty water, if it ends up in the Great Salt Lake, it produces the lake effect that we need for our snow. Right. I mean, you've got to get the water up in the Great Salt Lake. It's already salty. Bringing salt water into it's not going to harm it. So any way that you're taking water out of the Great Salt Lake is going to be a huge problem right now. A big problem.
So the governor said he has requested that the project developer publish a publicly available water plan that demonstrates to Utah DNR officials that no degradation occurs to the Great Salt Lake. and that all water use must be reported publicly, and in no event will the developer reduce water going to the Great Salt Lake.
And
So-
then you find out what happened.
Right, in Georgia. Right?
Right.
So it's such an interesting story because in Georgia, people noticed that their water pressure started dropping and they started complaining about it. And then they found out that a data center had used 30 million gallons of water more than it was supposed to, and nobody caught it.
Yeah. So our water is not working too well. They go to their water connection. They find out that 30 millions of water was taken and it was unnoticed. So, I mean, 30 million gallons of water, I don't know what the period of time is. I suppose a year that would be a significant burden on the Great Salt Lake to lose that much water.
Look, I mean, this is the story in Politico, and this is the one that I saw, right? That the data center drained 30 million gallons of water unnoticed. So what happened is last year, it's a fairly affluent area close to Fayetteville, Georgia. Their water pressure was unusually low, and so they started having these complaints come in. So the county went out and investigated, and they found two, and I'm quoting from the article, 2 industrial-scale water hookups feeding a data center campus located 20 miles south of downtown Atlanta. One had been installed without the utility's knowledge, and the other was not linked to the company's account and therefore was not being billed. Oh.
Yeah. I mean, how you don't notice that or how they could hook up with that without getting appropriate permits is really odd to me. I don't know how that even happened. But
So it's 44 Olympic-sized swimming pools worth of water, and it far exceeded the peak limit agreed to during the data center planning process. So I understand why people are worried.
So what I don't understand is why a data center needs that amount of water. I mean, I don't know what happens there.
They have to cool it.
Yeah, I was going to say nuclear plants. I can understand you have the cooling process, and but maybe the data center has
computers
the same
produce
thing.
heat.
Yeah.
So when you've got a bunch of servers, you've got computer equipment, it produces heat. It's always been an issue. They always have to have some kind of cooling. Typically, they do use water. There are other things you can use, but they do have to have a cooling technology because otherwise, it literally heats things up too much. So that's why. But it is interesting. And I do want to say this. We've got some people now who are making funny comments, ironic comments on social media because they're talking about, we're hearing, hey, you homeowners, don't water your lawns until the 15th. And, you're going to have brown lawns. And so people now, they're saying things like, hey, my lawn and I identify as a data center, so we can use as much water as we want. I mean,
that's classic.
I mean,
I know. The water right now, I mean, it couldn't be a worse year. It couldn't be a worse time of year. It couldn't be a worse time in our history, really, to say there's a chance that we're going to take some water away from the Great Salt Lake. It's just, I mean, it's this poor project, and I completely understand that where you started this was a trust issue.
Yeah, it's trust.
We should have had, the people of Box Elder County, the people of the state of Utah, should have had a little more heads up as to what was going on here before it just happened. And then us suddenly, I mean, we just learned about it ourselves. This 40,000 acre tract of land.
Shortly before the very first scheduled hearing, and then they delayed that hearing, but we only knew about it for a couple of weeks. And I think the county commissioners were late to finding out about it too. Just for context, I want to share this Georgia one. So the Fayetteville campus is one of the largest data center developments in the country. So guess how many acres it covers?
How many?
615.
Oh, you got to be kidding me.
No. So, I mean, just for context, right, we're starting with a 2,000 acre footprint out of 40,000 acre tract.
So why do they need 40,000 or 2,000?
Because they want to make it a hyperscaler. So they want to be able to provide data for the 5 big, huge data consumer companies. That includes Meta and Google, right? And there's 3 others. But they want to be a hyperscaler provider of energy and data. So anyway, one of the largest current ones is 615 acres, and we're talking about beginning with a small 2,000 acres
footprint,
yeah,
and
that's
up
right.
to maybe 40,000 when
Up to maybe 40,000. Yeah. So those are interesting conversations, right? And I think the right response is to say, okay, look, We realize, and I'm paraphrasing here, we realize we blindsided you, everybody. So we're going to slow down a little bit and give you some assurances about how we're approaching this. One of the things I think is interesting, and I know we're almost out of time, is that these data centers being built around the country have opposition almost everywhere they're proposed. People are like, no, we don't want these here. And that includes Utah, multiple places in Utah, but it's across the nation as well.
And I've heard people say, what are other countries doing? And I guess they're counting on the United States to do this. Well, I have a riddle for you, Holly.
Okay.
Do you know how many parks there are in Salt Lake County?
I don't know.
One woman made it her mission to find all of them, and there are more than 500. She created an online catalog for them. No idea. 500 parks just in Salt Lake County. We're going to talk about that after the break.
Do you have chirping smoke detectors? What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and if you've ever experienced chirping smoke detectors, you already know how annoying it can be. A great first step to try and stop the chirping is to change the batteries. If the chirping continues, it's possible that your smoke detector has gone bad. As a matter of fact, a lot of people don't even realize that manufacturers recommend replacing the smoke detector altogether after 10 years. If you remove the smoke detector from the wall, on the back you should find a date of when it was made. Do a little math and you'll know how old it is. Now, Any Hour Services knows being a homeowner means you've got a list a mile long of things to do around the house, and check my electrical system probably isn't one of them. That's why we've put together this radio special for any homeowners listening. One of our licensed electricians will perform a comprehensive inspection of your electrical system that includes testing those smoke detectors and give you a full written report for only $29. But you have to mention this ad when you call. Call Any Hour Services to schedule it. 801-443-7300. 801-443-7300. Any Hour Services.
You trust us for news and information in your car. Now trust us at home. KSL News Radio has you covered, keeping you informed on the latest breaking news, weather, traffic, sports, and more. Listen on your Amazon Echo or Google Home device. Just say, Alexa, open KSL News Radio, or listen on the KSL News Radio Listen app. Text the word app to 57500. KSL News Radio. We have you covered.
Hi, this is Derek Overstreet, president of the New Millennium Group and co-host of Stop Working, Start Living with KSL News Radio. Can you imagine what your life would be like if you could retire 3 to 5 years earlier than you thought possible? The things you could do, the loved ones you could spend time with, the memories that you could create. That's what our team at the New Millennium Group does. We'll walk you through the entire process every step of the way. If you'd like to get a copy of the 5-step proprietary plan that will help you retire 3 to 5 years sooner than you thought possible, give us a shout right now. 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370 or utahsfinancialplanner.com. Listen, most of our listeners right now have a tax problem, not a money problem. There's not enough money in Social Security Medicare as it is. Let us show you how you can significantly reduce your taxes. That's 888-999-6370. 888-999-6370 or utahsfinancialplanner.com.
Most of us like to be out in the sun. That's why sunscreen and other safety measures are key to protecting your skin from aging and cancer. The FDA recommends using a sunscreen with a sun protection factor, or SPF, of 15 or higher. Also, look for broad spectrum on the label. That means both harmful ultraviolet A and B rays are blocked. UVA rays age the skin, UVB rays burn, and both cause cancer. But the perfect sunscreen doesn't count if you use it wrong. Don't need sunscreen on a cloudy day? Wrong. 80% of UV rays still get through the haze. Only use sunscreen at the beach? Nope. Anytime you're outside, UV rays attack the skin, so you need protection. And you have to reapply sunscreen every 2 hours. Remember, SPF plus broad spectrum equal healthy fun in the sun. Visit www.fda.gov/sunscreen for more information. A message from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration.
Pump up the volume.
Business moves fast. Orders roll in, deadlines close in. When you ship with USPS Ground Advantage, you can keep up with confidence. Every package stays in our secure network from dock to door. And with nationwide reach, dependable tracking, and upfront affordable pricing, you get built-in peace of mind. You run the business. We run the routes. Visit USPS.com/groundadvantage to learn more.
Join us at Camping World's Red, White, and New Trade event, our biggest trade event of the year, May 14th through the 17th. Trade in your RV and get the highest value guaranteed. Then upgrade for less with new RVs starting as low as $94 a month. Plus, take 25% off select maintenance services. Save up to 40% on camp-ready must-haves. And enter to win a new RV. Don't miss the Red, White, and New Trade event at your local Camping World, May 14th through the 17th. We'll see you there.
When American troops withdrew from Afghanistan in 2021, thousands of evacuees fled to the U.S. for protection. Many Americans welcomed their new neighbors.
For the last week, the governor tells me his office has been getting calls nonstop with Utahns wanting to help.
When we saw the pictures and the videos coming out of Afghanistan, we prayed to be able to help them.
But then, what happened? Listen to Stranger Becomes Neighbor, wherever you get your podcasts.
And expanded Inside Sources.
One woman in Salt Lake County has taken the mantra, get outside, to whole new levels. If you need a little positivity for your Monday morning, here it is.
Yeah, and an effort to visit and catalog all of the parks in Salt Lake County, and now it's all in an easy-to-navigate online map. And by the way, there were over 500 of them.
It's amazing. So KSL's Alex Cabrero spoke with her, the woman behind the whole thing.
We're talking 511 parks. I didn't know there were that many in the county. City parks, county parks, parks, and HOAs. She visited them all, and she did it to help the rest of us. You know that feeling when you're at a park and you really have to go?
Let's hope that it's open. The public bathroom.
Ali Vallarta sure does.
And it has toilet paper.
Because she spent a lot of time at parks. In fact, she says she has visited all 511 parks in Salt Lake County.
This is a pretty good playground.
Not just to see which bathrooms are open year-round, but also to catalog everything each park has, from splash pads to playgrounds, pavilions with picnic tables, and even dog parks.
What I wanted to create was a resource that had never before existed, which is a place you could go thinking more of your neighborhood as a region and less about city boundaries.
So she built a searchable online map where people can look for exactly what they need in one spot instead of bouncing from city website to city website.
I've got a dog and a toddler, for example, and I want to plan an outing. Where can I go that has both an off-leash dog park and a toddler-friendly play area?
Horseshoe pits, beach volleyball sand, small parks and big parks, she has it all.
I wanted this map to be a tool that people can use whether they want to plan a church picnic or a wedding.
And bathrooms that are open year-round?
It is my top issue.
She says about 70% of the 511 parks close them, if they have them at all.
I'm a nerd, but I just think that's basic human dignity. Good communities have public bathrooms.
But it's not just about bathrooms. It's about having a place to get away from it all for a little bit. To breathe, relax, and a place where kids can be kids and neighbors can be neighbors.
These parks belong to us. Let's make the most of them.
She also created what she called the Golden 5 Stars of Family Friendliness. 5 golden stars. Parks that have, she said, 5 things they should have. Playgrounds, splash pads. I have no idea what that is.
Oh, it's super fun, but also water conscious. So.
Okay, yeah. Picnic tables, water fountains, and bathrooms. And out of the 511 parks, only 15 had all 5 of those.
Yeah,
she
I
seems
can
to be
understand
stressing the public restroom facility.
Yeah. Look,
she sounded like a blast.
I've had kids at parks where they say, okay, you got to go to the bathroom. You got to go right now.
Right.
And they're locked.
Yeah, that's...
doggone it, right? No, I just think that's such a fun project, right? That she took it on herself to say, okay, I'm going to go do this. First of all, I had no idea there were 511 parks of all sizes and varieties in Salt Lake County. That's a lot.
So when you think about it, so she talks about city parks, county parks, what she called HOAs. I don't know what some of the others. She mentioned 4 different categories, but yeah, I mean, if you think about it, there is a park in every neighborhood. It seems like a little,
even if it's a little play area, right? Yeah. We have splash pads. Those are instead of like a pool, they'll have like the water jets come up out of the ground.
Okay.
So you can splash around in it, basically.
You
can get wet and cool off.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. That's what that is. But yeah, I just think, what a great project for somebody to take on because she felt like she needed it, and she did it.
And she cataloged them, so others
so
can
that
find
everybody
out what
else.
they all are.
Oh
right?
Yeah.
So by water fountains, she must be drinking fountains then.
Yeah, I would guess
If you
so.
say
Yeah.
Splash pads.
Yeah.
Picnic tables.
I know that there's a park really close to our house, and I know that the public bathrooms there are locked during the winter months for sure. They're open during the summer, but they're locked during the winter, and it kind of makes sense to me. Like, are you really going to the park and the restroom in the winter?
I also noticed that some of the parks that we visit they're closed on Sundays, maybe because people aren't visiting them as much or something like that. The problem is this, and I'm just sick for these park superintendents and the people that take care of them. It's people vandalize things, and it's just awful. You can go to a public restroom one day, and the next day it's been
vandalized. I know. Yeah. I know it is a problem. It is a problem. So Allie, who did this, she actually is host of the CityCast Salt Lake podcast. So she always was thinking about, okay, so what is it that's out there? What do we have available? And I think that's a really great use of her time, and then to create it, of course, so that other people can use it too. So I want somebody to volunteer, not me, to do that in Utah County.
Yeah, probably not as many in Utah County, but still probably a significant number. She listed her top 5 things, but one of the things she thought was important was an off-leash dog park, but she didn't list that in her Golden 5 things that make a park important to her, and a toddler-friendly play area.
Yeah.
I mean, she just said playgrounds.
Yeah. Well, and you can have playgrounds, right? But they're not as friendly. So do you remember, like, this has changed over our lifetimes. Do you remember merry-go-rounds? We really don't have those much anymore.
Oh.
Because they'd flip the kids off. And anyway, it just feels like we don't have that a lot anymore. But there was a related story that I saw about Pleasant Grove. They're going to have this week, they're doing a contest. It's an obstacle course for people with disabilities. And that's one thing that I have seen over the last maybe decade, is that a lot more parks are really thinking about what about our potential patrons who have disabilities, right? Whether they're in a wheelchair or they can't sit up or, whatever it is. And I wish that we had things like that available when I was raising my kids, because we had kids who could have enjoyed those types of parks, but they just weren't a thing.
Yeah, I think prospectively, I mean, when you're building parks, you take a lot of those things into consideration.
Now you do.
But you kind of have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's too bad. That's a sad thing. And she also mentioned not swimming pools, no, splash pads. I guess very few parks have swimming pools.
Yeah, unless I guess it's a public pool.
Right, that'd be a big one, right?
Yeah. So we've enjoyed splash pads down in our area. Cedar Hills has a really nice splash pad. Again, I don't know how the water this year is going to impact those. I know that in some places, some cities are saying we're going to decrease. We're not going to shut them off completely, but we'll decrease the hours that these are available. So if it's super hot outside, you can take your kids to a splash pad and they can get wet, and it's free, at least usually is free, right, to go into these parks. So it can be a fun activity where the kids can cool off without having to pay to go to a pool.
We did a group of guys and I did a long bike ride yesterday in the Morgan Valley, and we were happy to find a park there, a city park that was open. The restrooms were open. The drinking fountains worked. A picnic table was in a pavilion in the shade. We could sit down and have a drink and drink some water and go fill our water bottles. So it was nice and it was a beautiful park too. I don't even know what it was called, but it was just this fun, beautiful park. I just thought, cities need these, and we weren't the only ones there, but everybody just passes through. Gets a drink of water, has a bite.
She had a statement that I thought was really interesting. This is the KSL article, but she talked about boredom, right? And how in summer, she said boredom is a state of mind. And she said, I've never been bored a day in my life. And then she says, I always hear people say things like, well, there's nothing to do in Salt Lake. It's so boring. And her response is, really? Have you tried going to 511 parks?
And she did that in so many. It didn't take her very long. She did it. She was hitting them up almost every day. I think it took her 2 years or something. I forget what it was, but
that seems like a lot.
Yeah,
to me.
I mean that's a lot of park visiting.
So we do have people who have asked us, our texters already, where they can find this interactive map.
Yeah.
And I'll give you the address, but I'll also text her. It's saltlake.citycast.fm/parks.
FM.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can also go to KSL KSLTV.com and find the link there embedded in our story.
Yeah, so that'll be fun to get, and good for her for doing that. What did you say her name was? I mean, she's just...
It's Ali Vallarta.
Yeah, I really think we should get her on the show sometime. Somebody would do that, and she's just listening to her. What a great sense of humor. She was so funny to listen to her talk.
That's really fun. So anyway, I think it's a great project, and we're heading into 90-degree weather, so we all are going to need something to do.
Well, in the next hour of Inside Sources...
No one who poses a risk to public health is walking out the front door of the streets of Omaha or beyond.
Yeah, Americans who were on that ship that had hantavirus outbreak are back in the United States today. More on the virus and what health officials are saying. And it is nothing like the COVID pandemic when we come back.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. KSL's top story this hour. Search and rescue teams were busy over the weekend. A man and his dog were airlifted to a hospital after falling while rappelling at the San Rafael Swell in Emery County. A teenager had a scary fall in Bear Lake County, Idaho, where he fell about 50 feet into the Paris Ice Caves. And a young woman was airlifted from Water Canyon Trail near Hilldale on Saturday after falling 30 feet. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. An American who was on the cruise ship where the hantavirus outbreak originated has now tested positive for the virus. That passenger and one other person showing symptoms were flown to Biocontainment Treatment Center in Atlanta, while the rest of the Americans on the cruise were sent to a quarantine center in Omaha, Nebraska.
Those that tested positive and the passenger that was symptomatic were held in a separate biocontainment unit on that flight, but it is very possible that they will still be testing beyond these passengers, and that testing includes PCR analysis to look for the virus, antibody analysis to look for signs that maybe someone was infected. But it's so important to note that this virus transfers most often when it is symptomatic.
Dr. Darian Sutton says these quarantine centers make sure the virus itself doesn't spread to a larger group of people. Your money at this moment, the Dow now down after starting the day in the positive. It's down 21 points to 49,587. Coming up, record-setting heat today and tomorrow. KSL weather's next. KSL News Time, 10:01.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
You're the turf whisperer, the grass-cutting guru. Dandelions don't stand a chance on your watch. When it comes to your lawn, power moves are the only moves you make. That's why you just applied IFA's Weed and Feed for strong, dark green turf without a weed in sight. IFA's Weed and Feed. It's the ultimate lawn owner power move.
We asked parents who adopted teens to share their journey.
Nathan has taught me to embrace the moment. Age-wise, I'm in my late 60s. I'm old enough to be his grandfather. Will he be embarrassed to acknowledge me as his dad? I think the most important thing we can do is let them know that they're safe, that they're valued and cared for and loved, and that they're important.
I knew I wanted to be adopted by him because of how he taught me to be the person who I am today. And it's coming from a dad that didn't expect to become a dad, and I feel very proud to be his son.
I was what he needed, and he was what I needed. Every day is full of new opportunities. That's what it's been about, realizing the simple things that it takes to make such a huge difference in these kids' lives.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care at adoptuskids.org. Brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
Do you have an IRA or 401k? It's natural to think of this as being your money, right? But remember, you still have to pay taxes when you withdraw this money in retirement. And you could be paying a lot more in taxes on these accounts than you know. A lot more. Learn the strategies that can help you reduce or eliminate your taxes in retirement. Don't miss a special edition of Retirement Solutions Radio this Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock, right here on KSL News Radio 1027.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. You deserve to love where you bank. Let's check in with Cormac Bone.
No delays on I-15 through Utah County and coming up from the point of the mountain all the way up to Salt Lake City. But southbound I-15, we are still seeing some light delays from Warm Springs Road down to 600 North. And also in Davis County, South 15 a little slow getting out of Kaysville and into Farmington. But otherwise, roadways looking really good in your midday. If your roof needs repair or replacement, do it now during S&S Roofing's huge spring sale flexible financing options available. Get the best value on the highest quality roofing job. Get a quote today at snsroofingutah.com. Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, Salt Lake City should hit 91 today, which would be a record high. Then we get up to 93 tomorrow, another record. Wednesday also extra warm at 90 degrees, but we'll also see strong winds that day. Right now it's 73 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
The Americans who were on board a Dutch cruise ship where a hantavirus outbreak occurred are now back in the United States.
And those who have tested positive are at a Center for Disease Control facility in Atlanta, while those who haven't shown symptoms or tested positive are still in a secure facility in Nebraska.
So federal health officials are stressing today that this is not like the COVID pandemic, so there's very little for everyday Americans to worry about.
Here's more from ABC's Victor Okendo, who has more.
That the passengers will be in an assessment phase, at least for the next few days, here inside the quarantine unit in Omaha. But as long as they are asymptomatic, they will have the option to stay here for 42 days, which is the maximum incubation period for the Andes virus, or they will be able to quarantine at home.
So what's interesting to me is I did not know we had secure facilities in Nebraska to put people in quarantine.
Guess we have them everywhere.
I didn't know that. All right. So we have with us Dr. Richard Ferguson. He's an emergency room doctor and president of the Black Physicians of Utah. Thanks for joining us today, Dr. Ferguson.
Yeah, happy to be back with you guys. And actually, you may recall, as you just finished with your statement there about the Nebraska facility, we have a facility, I don't know if you remember back when Ebola traveled here, probably about 10 years ago. That was one of the facilities that was used when someone was exposed to Ebola and was symptomatic.
Gosh.
So we have one in Boston and Nebraska.
Wow. Okay.
What can you tell our listeners about hantavirus? What is it?
Yeah, so hantavirus, I guess it's actually something that many of us physicians learn about, particularly in medical school. But it's a group of viruses usually carried by wild rodents. It's common in the Americas. It can cause what many people are being admitted for or have passed away from so far with this Andean strain, something that's called hantavirus pulmonary syndrome. And so if it's, and mind you, this is usually spread by rodent urine, droppings, or saliva. And usually, from the only cases that I've read about, it's often in the Southwest, so like New Mexico, or possibly even out in Yosemite. And it's usually when someone has an old cabin, there was rat feces there, someone goes in to clean it, or they have a barn and there's rat infestation. They sweep, they don't have a mask on, they inhale some of the particles that they clearly can't see, and then anywhere from 1 to 6 weeks later, they become symptomatic, and it has a fairly high mortality rate, often somewhere between 15 to 40%. But it can cause a severe pulmonary syndrome with rapid breathing. And so some of those early symptoms can actually look like flu, fever, fatigue, muscle aches. But once again, it's a virus that's normally passed by rodents and occasionally can come over to humans. But this Andean strain is a bit unique because it's the only one where it passes human to human, which is what has many of not only the WHO but the CDC concerned.
So I just wanted to ask you a question about that. So this one has passed from human to human, but it's not something we should really be worried about. Are those both true?
Yeah, so I guess worry is a bit subjective for everyone, given what we've had experience with COVID and even how measles in our state. But the spread is, so what's different about hantavirus compared to others, you need prolonged physical contact, prolonged time in close or enclosed space, or exposure to someone's body fluids from someone who is sick. And this is how it actually spread on that boat, because the first person became ill and then passed away on the ship, and they continued on with their activities, meaning that person's spouse who was with them in the room, they were sitting in galleys or maybe a cafeteria, wherever they might have had close contact with, and that's how it continued to spread. And then it went from one person to another. But you need prolonged time in an enclosed space. And once again, someone needs to be symptomatic. I don't know if many of us recall, because COVID is kind of ubiquitous now. Like, it's just kind of out there in our environment. Everyone is constantly being exposed, but often not symptomatic. And the Andean strain, you have to be symptomatic to spread. So in that incubation period, you are not able to spread it.
Okay, I
did have a
question about incubation period, because it seems to be quite long. So people could have already been infected before they even got on the ship. Is that correct?
Yes. I think there was that particular, was it the Swiss passenger that was sitting next to the wife when she was flying to South Africa after her husband had fallen ill and died. I think she's the one that might have spread to him, and I think that also spread to a flight attendant as well that was on that same plane.
So, Dr. Ferguson, the people that haven't shown symptoms yet are given a choice, from what we heard, of staying in the facility in Omaha for 42 days, which is the period of incubation, or they can go home and sort of self-contain. What would they, if they left the facility, what would they be looking for? They'd say, you go home, stay in your house, but be aware that some things may start happening. What would those things be? Like you start having a fever or something like that.
Yeah. So often the presenting symptoms mimic that or seem very similar to that of the flu. At least we know we're not in flu season, so we don't have to be worried about confusing between the two. But it's fever, fatigue, muscle aches, headache, chills, dizziness, and it can even create GI symptoms. So you can get diarrhea and abdominal pain. But often many people become more concerned as if you develop a cough or shortness of breath. That's when you really get more and more worried that, oh, wow, this is the hantavirus pulmonary syndrome. These are not allergy symptoms. This is not measles. And considering that we have a higher concern because you were on a ship clearly exposed to it. So if they have fever, fatigue, muscle aches, chills, and a cough, that would be concerning if they develop that within the first week or next 1 to 6 weeks. Sorry.
So one of the things that I've seen online is that there are two people. One is, quote, mildly symptomatic, and the other one has tested positive but is asymptomatic. They don't have any symptoms. So even if they test positive for this hantavirus but they don't have symptoms, are you saying that they would not be contagious then?
Yeah. It would be really hard for them to spread, because the thing is, of course, you have the sensitivity of a blood test that's going to detect the virus in the bloodstream before, even when it's not multiplied enough in our cells within our body to become symptomatic in our lungs or in our gut. So, yes, you can test positive and not actually be infectious.
What is the medical, not cure, but the response to someone with hantavirus? What do the medical professionals do for somebody in those situations?
I'm trying to recall, mind you, I think primarily what they're doing when they're very ill with the pulmonary syndrome, hantavirus pulmonary syndrome, they will, often it's supportive care in an ICU. So they're trying to get them where eventually until the virus dies out in your body.
So because it's a virus, they can't really treat it then. It's really just supportive until it runs its course.
Yeah, which is why it kind of has a high mortality rate. I'm sure they're trying several different antivirals, but there isn't one specific that I know of. But it's usually supportive care. They're providing oxygen, they're doing mechanical ventilation, so they're intubating them if things get worse with the pulmonary aspect. They're making sure that their hydration is maintained. But yeah, there's no magic bullet or cure or drug company that has engineered a specific antiviral, as we had done with COVID, that treats hantavirus. Part of it is because it's uncommon and rather rare. I think there's been about 900 cases in the U.S. over the last 3 decades. So it's quite uncommon.
I have one really quick question. I hope it's quick. Can you talk to us about the process of contact tracing that has happened, but in like 30 seconds?
Yeah, it's very similar to what happened with COVID. Often people are given a survey, they're given a link, and someone from the public health department calls them and they start asking them a number of questions of where they sat on a plane or a bus or a train or their cabin, what activities they might have gone to, what gate they went to in an airport, and then they'll slowly from there figure out that timing, and then they reach out to the other people that might have been working at the gate, employees at that particular part of the airplane or on a ship, wherever they might have been transporting through, and then that's how that public health person will continue to increase this sort of ring of contact this person might have had during their journey.
All right. Thank you so much. That was Dr. Richard Ferguson, emergency room doctor and president of the Black Physicians of Utah, giving us an update on hantavirus. So when we come back, we're going to talk about the suspect in the White House Correspondents' Dinner shooting. He pled guilty, or not guilty. He pled not guilty. We also have an update on cameras in the courtroom for Tyler Robinson, and a suspect in the deadly Rose Park funeral shooting has been extradited or is being extradited. We're talking about crime when we come back.
What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and if you have a drain that's clogged or backed up, after you've tried the plungers and products, the next step usually involves some kind of drain snake or cabling equipment. You see, sometimes the blockage is far enough down the line that you need special equipment that most homeowners just don't have. That's where the Drains Department at Any Hour Services can help. A drain snake can clear most blockages and get the water flowing again, and clearing blocked drains is what our Drains Department does day in and day out. So if you're a homeowner with a drain line that's clogged or backed up and you'd like one of our drain technicians to come and snake the line for you, it's only $29. Yep, you heard that right. Any Hour Services will snake any drain line with normal access for only $29. Sinks, showers, tubs, toilets, floor drains, laundry drains, even that sewer main line that connects to the city. We'll snake any line for just $29. For help with your drain issues, call Any Hour Services at 801-443-7700. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
For hearts that love. For hearts that care. For hearts that comfort. For hearts that heal. We care for them all. At Common Spirit Health, we know that each patient is unique. That's why our cardiology team is committed to caring for every kind of heart. Find heart care near you at mountain.commonspirit.org.
Serenity now! Serenity now!
Are you okay?
Okay, gas is up, groceries are up, everything up, up, up!
Not at Strong Volkswagen.
Strong Volkswagen.
Yeah, purchase any vehicle with a dime. One dime down.
What is the deal with dimes?
One dime down. Plus, oil changes at just $59.95 at Strong Volkswagen.
Just $59.95?
Or lease a new 2026 Jetta S. Just $235 a month. $235.
Fun fact, new Jetta get up to 42 mpg.
Even new all-wheel drive Atlas. Just $432 a month. $432.
And you get a lifetime warranty. Lifetime. But my own mother won't loan me money.
You're not getting the money! It's okay. If you got a job and a dime, you ride, mister.
This is great. I'm back, baby, during Volkswagen Driver Days.
At Strong Volkswagen. For over 70 years, Strong Volkswagen.
Located downtown.
StrongVW.com.
StrongVW.com. For details, call 801-596-2200.
Everything to my back is dark.
High in the alpine wilderness.
Really ugly clouds coming over from the north.
A place
the ridgeline is imposing the escarpments, the drops.
where survival,
It's dark now. I have nothing.
is never certain.
This is not good.
My name's Dave Cawley, and I'm the host of a podcast called Uinta Triangle. It's about the disappearance of an Australian hiker named Eric.
Our conclusion and that of the sheriff is that the mountains have decided to keep him.
Come retrace Eric's footprints with me.
You have done this walk too, but this is your backyard. Did he really make a wrong turn, or did he decide that he was done?
He is not the first or last person to vanish in this remote region.
It was haunting to see the photos. I mean, really.
Find and follow the podcast series Uinta Triangle. That's Uinta, spelled U-I-N-T-A, Triangle, wherever you get your podcasts. All episodes out now.
Patrick was way behind on his IRS taxes.
I was in way over my head. The total amount ended up being somewhere just over $30,000. $30,000.
Then the IRS came to collect.
Started getting letter after letter. A lien had been filed against me. They were going to basically hang me completely out to dry.
He had to do something.
That's when I reached out to Optima Tax Relief.
Patrick's life quickly got a lot easier.
It was very easy, pretty much hands off. They picked up the ball and ran with it.
And how'd it go?
I couldn't believe it. I had to ask 2 or 3 times. I saved an incredible amount of money.
How does Patrick feel about Optima?
Couldn't be happier. They definitely helped me. Optima Tax Relief, the best place to call. They're the best in the business.
Do what Patrick did and call Optima Tax Relief for a free consultation. Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
And expanded Inside Sources. Inside Sources.
The man accused of trying to kill President Trump at the recent White House Correspondents' Dinner pled not guilty on all counts this morning.
Yeah, Cole Allen is facing several felony charges, including attempting to assassinate the President of the United States. And this is interesting because people say, well, we have him on video, we have Secret Service, everybody was there. Why is he pleading not guilty? It's because he kind of has to at this point.
Right.
We're in the very early stages. It's just an arraignment. An arraignment is where you say those 2 words, guilty or not guilty. So he had court today on 4 felony counts: attempting to assassinate the president, assault on a federal law enforcement officer with a deadly weapon, transportation of a firearm and ammunition over state lines with the intent to commit a felony, and discharging a felony during a crime of violence. Each of those carries a significant prison term. I think the one involving the President of the United States probably has 20 years all by itself, so he could be serving
a
the
long
rest
time
of his life in prison.
Yeah, I think you have taught me that too, right? Is that almost everybody is going to enter a not guilty plea right at the outset.
Yeah, and I think the judge probably wouldn't let him do anything else, believe it or
Really?
not, at that stage. Because, hey, you've got to get an attorney. We have to make sure you know what you're doing. And if you plead guilty before you even have the evidence, then you're going to be, say that you didn't know what you were doing. So, yeah, I mean, take a step back. It's just the arraignment. It's just the first hearing. That case has moved on a fast track, by the way.
Oh, for sure.
He had a detention hearing the next day, I think. But now he's been formally charged. A grand jury has handed down an indictment alleging those 4 counts. He's presumed innocent, and he will then move forward. I assume also, and I haven't seen this from the what's in the paper. Well, he does have a defense attorney, but I don't know whether he's a public defender. Doesn't matter necessarily. My guess is he's probably got one of the federal public defenders.
So on another story, and this one is more local, this is about Tyler Robinson. So we know that the preliminary hearing is going to be delayed for about a month and a half, but cameras and microphones will be continue to be allowed in the courtroom. But here's my question for you. I feel like we've talked about this. I feel like the judge has said, yes, the cameras are going to be allowed in the courtroom. Why are we still revisiting this?
Because the defense brought in an expert at the last hearing. So they said, hey, the cameras are killing us. We're not going to get a fair trial. There's no way we can get a jury to hear this case and be fair. And the judge said, no, Utah presumes that courts are open to the public. We're going to allow cameras in the courtroom. So they revisited the hearing, and they had an expert come in who testified that given the preemptive,
high profile.
the high profile nature of this case, the fact that Utah County is not the biggest county in the country by any means, it was going to really taint the jury pool. And the judge still didn't buy it, and he said, no, I am going to allow cameras in the courtroom during his proceedings. And that means, of course, it would happen during the trial, but because your jury's already seated, and they're hearing everything. But in the preliminary matters, including the preliminary hearing, which we're going to talk about in just a second, when you, for example, you live in Utah County, you're watching that, and you might get called on the jury.
Sure.
Who knows? And based on what you might see on TV or listen to on KSL radio, you might say, hey, I think I have an idea what happened in this case.
Yeah.
And you may not be able to be fair, or at least you say, hey, I've already heard the whole evidence. Why should what am I going to learn at trial I don't know already? Well, the answer is everything, because what you know, with all respect to the media, isn't what's going to come out during the course of the trial.
Sure.
Some information may not be relevant or maybe admissible that you see on the media, and you have to focus at the trial, eye on the prize. Whatever you're hearing specifically by the witnesses and the lawyers is what you have to consider when you're determining whether somebody's guilty or innocent at a trial.
So the preliminary hearing for Tyler Robinson was originally scheduled for next week, May 18th, I think, and now it's been pushed back to the beginning of June. Why are we doing that?
That was another motion by the defense. The state wants cameras in the courtroom, and they want to do the prelim. They can do it tomorrow. And what they're saying is this. Well, I'll tell you what the defense argument is. First of all, the defense argument is we have reams and reams of documents.
Mhm.
We have the gigabytes that we haven't even seen yet. The FBI created a database. They're interviewing all these people. We just need more time. And the state's saying, you have what you need for the preliminary hearing. There's not going to be anything at the preliminary hearing that you don't already know about. In other words, if you interviewed 1,000 people, but 3 of them are going to testify at the prelim, you know what they're going to say.
Right. Okay.
So what are you going to gain by having more time? And the defense is saying, well, unless we have all the information, maybe we don't know how to cross-examine these people. Maybe we don't know what else could be there. So they're saying we need more time. Now, the judge, I kind of guessed wrong on these. I thought the judge would split the baby with the bathwater on both of these. That's not the right word.
But that's okay.
Split the whatever.
Split the baby.
Don't split the baby. Anyway, I thought the judge would split it down the middle. And say, okay, we're going to limit cameras in the courtroom just to a still camera and maybe one photographer and that type of thing. But he opened up the floodgates, I think, to cameras in the courtroom, including microphones, moving cameras, that type of thing. So I guess that went wrong. With respect to the preliminary hearing, I guessed correctly that he would probably give him a continuance, but it wouldn't be very long.
Mhm.
So a month and a half is not a long time. I think the state or the defense wanted much longer than that.
Interesting.
And they may and probably will file both of these motions again before the preliminary hearing to limit cameras and to need more time. But the judge, I think, is probably stated his position now, and we're going to have a preliminary hearing in July 6th through 10th. I can't imagine it's going to take 5 days, but the preliminary hearing is going to be the week of July 6th, right after the 4th of July.
Okay, I thought it was June, but it's July. Okay,
Yeah.
So I do see this is a KSL TV story that says the county attorney's office has identified 6 witnesses. So they've already told the defense who they're bringing. Lance Twiggs, who was Robinson's roommate at the time, 4 agents from the Utah State Bureau of Investigation, a UVU police officer, photos and videos from UVU, text messages between Robinson and Twiggs, and photographs of notes. So they already have a heads up, right? Which is what you're saying.
Which is another reason why the state is saying you don't need anything else. We've told you everything we're going to put on the prelim. You have all their statements. But but it's also one thing people don't appreciate about a preliminary hearing, and I've done them for both sides, is that it's also what we call a discovery hearing. It's an opportunity for the defense to learn about the state's case, because you don't get the right to go interview witnesses like you do in a civil case. You can't take depositions and interrogatories and all that kind of stuff. The preliminary hearing is sometimes your one and only shot of examining witnesses if you're a defense attorney. Now, you can go to their house and visit them, and if they say, I ain't talking to you, then you don't get that information.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the preliminary hearing is a great chance to see what the witness is going to say. The state, I kind of liken it to that old show, I can name that tune in 5
Oh,
notes.
yeah. Yeah.
What's the minimum number of witnesses you have to call at a preliminary hearing to get it bound over? Because the quantum of evidence that's required at a preliminary hearing is very low. Probable cause. It's
Not
probable
beyond a reasonable doubt.
Yeah, and it's just to a judge of 1, not a jury of 12.
Yeah.
So it's a very low standard. The state says, We've already told you what our standard is. We've already told you who our witnesses are. Let's just put it on. The defense is saying we need to see the big picture first.
So then one last final story, and this is local too, but the suspect in the Rose Park funeral shooting was extradited. I thought maybe it was in the future, but no, he has been extradited to Salt Lake City after being taken into custody in California. And I guess my question to you is, how is it different, for example, that he's been extradited and then our alleged shooter in the murders of the 3 women down in southern Utah has not been extradited?
The difference is one person said, okay, I need to go back. The other one's fighting it. So you can contest your extradition. And an extradition hearing is an identification hearing. So somebody will have to go to Utah or go to California from Utah and say, that's the guy we're looking for. You can't fight your case. You can't challenge the charges. You can only challenge whether you are in fact the person who is wanted by the state of Utah.
Okay.
I consider it a waste of time because I tell all my clients, just waive extradition and come home. First of all, because you're going to be sitting in jail, and second, you get no credit for the time you serve in jail if you're fighting extradition. So it's a waste of your time. You might as well come to Utah and fight it, but some people would rather just fight it as long. They fight everything, and I completely understand. But if anybody ever called me and said, "What should I do?" I'd almost always tell them, "Waive extradition.
Go there.
You're going to come back anyway, unless you really aren't the person." Anyway, so that was an interesting. Thank you for allowing me to have my criminal moment. When we come back, conversations with Governor Cox and the owners of the South Entertainment Group today will continue as part of a joint effort between local and national media. We'll get a preview coming up next.
It's 10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. KSL's top story this hour. At least one man has been taken to the hospital after a small plane crashed in central Utah. KSL News Radio's Adam Small has details.
Investigators say the Cessna 172 went down just after noon yesterday on Monroe Mountain near Marysville. Paiute County Sheriff's Office says both men on board the plane survived, but the 88-year-old man on board had to be airlifted to a hospital in Utah County. The other man in his 50s was taken from the scene in a private vehicle. Crews say they were able to quickly contain a small wildfire started by the crash, which is good news given this area was scorched by a huge wildfire just last year. As for what caused the plane to go down, that is still to be determined. The FAA is still investigating. Adam Small, KSL News Radio.
A motorcyclist is dead after getting hit while on the side of US 6 near the town of Goshen. The Utah Highway Patrol says the driver stopped after their bike had some mechanical issues last night. A car headed westbound didn't see them and hit them. The person died on the scene. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. The man accused of charging the White House Correspondents' Dinner and attempting to assassinate top leaders in the Trump administration pleaded not guilty in court this morning. The FBI says Cole Thomas Allen went to the dinner and ran through a metal detector with multiple knives and guns. Your money at this moment, the Dow up slightly. It's been zigzagging right around zero today. Right now it's up 20 points to 49,629. Coming up, record-setting heat for the next couple of days. KSL weather's next. KSL News Time, 10:31.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
It all started with a commitment to comfort. Gillette Heating and Air is proud to be Utah County's go-to team for expert HVAC and plumbing solutions. Need a repair, upgrade, or seasonal tune-up? Don't let cost hold you back. With 0% financing available, it's easy to get the work done now and pay later. Plus, save $100 on any repair over $500 and keep your system running strong with a professional tune-up before the heat hits. Visit GilletteHVAC.com or call 385-GET-COOL to book today. Homegrown service pros, financing made simple, comfort made easy.
Carrier, turn to the experts. A Carrier factory authorized dealer.
Utah's got the Big Five, but this week we're showing you the Mini Five. Hidden state parks flying under the radar. Tonight, Edge of the Cedar State Park in Blanding.
The history of Native American peoples here in the Four Corners is just so beautiful. These are places for people to gather to work out issues of God and politics.
Watch KSO 5 News at 10 and you can win a guest card to hit the road yourself. The Mini 5, Utah's Hidden Gems, tonight on KSO 5 News at 10.
Join us at Camping World's Red, White, and New Trade event, our biggest trade event of the year, May 14th through the 17th. Trade in your RV and get the highest value guaranteed. Then upgrade for less with new RVs starting as low as $94 a month. Plus, take 25% off select maintenance services. Save up to 40% on camp-ready must-haves. And enter to win a new RV. Don't miss the Red, White, and New Trade event at your local Camping World, May 14th through the 17th. We'll see you there.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance tech at a university, he knows ordering from multiple suppliers takes time away from keeping their arena up and running. That's why he counts on Grainger to get everything he needs, from lighting and HVAC parts to plumbing supplies, all in one place. And with fast, dependable delivery, he's stocked and ready for the next tip-off. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Before you change the station, listen to this.
1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today. 1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Donate your car at carsforkids.org. That's cars with a K. Pickup is quick and easy. You'll also get a vacation voucher and a tax deduction.
1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today. 1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today. Donate your car today.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. Earn 4.24% on savings at UCCU.com. Let's get another update on traffic with Cormac Bone.
Roadways looking really good all across the Wasatch Front. No delays on I-15 between Ogden and Provo, and the slowdowns that we had on I-215's west belt have also cleared off the road. So it's just normal slowdowns, a little bit of scattered delay eastbound and westbound on the 201 freeway in Magna, and still some slowdowns northbound SR36 in Lake Point. While you're planning your day, plan for comfort too with the Good Feet store. Find the location nearest you at goodfeet.com. Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, we should see record high temps in the next 2 days with 91 today and 93 tomorrow. On Wednesday, we stay near 90 degrees, but we also get some strong winds mixed in there. Right now, it's 75 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
A discussion about improving online safety, the future of democracy, the new entertainment and sports district coming to Salt Lake City, and the future of the media. All of this will be on the table during a special event by The Atlantic and the Deseret News this afternoon.
McKay Coppins is a staff writer at The Atlantic, and he's here in Utah today to interview several big names, including Governor Spencer Cox.
And ahead of this interview, we joined him. He joined us earlier to preview this event.
Before we talk about the event, we asked him to explain how he got started on this path of storytelling, how it evolved, and especially as he wrote the biography of former Senator and presidential candidate Mitt Romney.
It was actually during my freshman year at BYU. I took a intro level journalism class where I was introduced to the idea of what the professor called literary journalism, but was really, long form journalism, narrative journalism. The idea that you could take a lot of the storytelling techniques that define the best fiction and apply it to true stories that were based on reporting and research. And I loved it. I started reading all the great new journalists, Tom Wolfe, Gay Talese, Joan Didion, and decided that's what I wanted to do. And The Atlantic has really been an amazing home for that. It's, for 167 years, I think, has been the home of some of the greatest writers in the English language. And so it's kind of an honor to get to do that at this magazine.
What inspires you to write? And I guess I'm thinking about people who write great music and people who write great books. I mean, how do you get an idea or a concept or something that you want to write about?
Yeah, I've always been drawn to interesting characters first and foremost. Like, I always say there are two kinds of writers when it comes to biographies, profiles, when you're writing about a subject. There are those who start out with a big idea and then they go in search of a character who will help them explore that idea. And then there are those who start with the character and then figure out what their individual story says about the human condition or America or religion or whatever it is. And I'm very much in the latter camp. I like to start with the person, the individual, the character, and figure out what motivates them, what makes them tick, what the tensions are in their life. I spend a lot of my career writing profiles of, powerful political leaders or business leaders or people in media. And I'm always interested in the tensions that they face between their ambitions and their principles. And I think that everybody, if we're honest with ourselves, experiences this. You know, it's what we want versus what we know is right. And I think that the kind of characters that wrestle with that tension and are trying to do the right thing, but you know, sometimes come up short, but are really trying. I think those are the most interesting characters, and I at least lately have been gravitating toward those people.
So I really, really enjoyed the biography that you did on Mitt Romney. It was so well done and so, like, it just pulled me in and kept me until I finished it. And what was it like to do that kind of biography on somebody who was so high profile?
Yeah, he's such an interesting subject because, you know, in some ways he's been in you know, a very public person for a really long time, right? You know, you go back to when he ran for Senate the first time in Massachusetts in the mid 90s. He then, you know, the Salt Lake City Olympics and the two presidential campaigns and you know, and then his Utah Senate career. In some ways it would seem like he's not a great subject because there's been so much written about him already, but what I came to find is that as a reporter who had covered him a lot, I had been a political reporter covering his 2012 campaign. I had covered, you know, I had profiled him when he got to the Senate. It was true that a lot had been written about him, but he had so many stories he had never told because he's actually a pretty discreet person and he's disciplined and he, you know, he's not prone to kind of, you know, blab about everything that he sees behind closed doors. But I happened to catch him at a moment where he was reaching the twilight of his political career. He was truly introspective in an interesting way and kind of, you know, became a biographer's dream because he set aside a lot of time with me. You know, over the course of like 2 years, I was meeting with him almost every week when he was in Washington. He gave me his journals, his email correspondence, and I was surprised by the degree to which there was so much beneath the surface that nobody really had access to. And you know, I felt like I was learning a ton about him, even having written tens of thousands of words about him already. And so I wanted to make sure the book had that kind of intimacy too, where people who read it felt like they were really getting inside the mind of this person. And you know, I think that the greatest you know, there were good reviews and lots of people bought the book, and I appreciate your praise of it. But my favorite compliment actually came from his one of his sons who read it and texted me that he felt like he understood his dad so much more after reading it. And I feel like if you can get to the point where you're reaching the people the very closest to your subject and leaving them as readers feeling like they understand something new, that means that you've accomplished something. And so, of course, I'm very grateful to him for being so open with me.
McKay, how has your writing and reporting style changed as you've matured? And is it part of your change, or do you think the audience has changed a little bit?
Probably both. And also I think that it's true that any reporter, when you're first starting out, you're not going to get the opportunity to write the 10,000 word cover story for The Atlantic, right? And so when I was first starting out, I was at Newsweek and then later at BuzzFeed News. And, you know, as a reporter in my early and mid 20s, you end up kind of getting assignments to write quick pieces, to you know, be really in the middle of the news cycle every day. You're churning out what were called micro scoops, you know, where it was like the very small incremental advances in whatever the political news story of the day was. And I think also as a younger reporter, I was probably like a lot of younger reporters. I just wanted to, you know, get my big break. I wanted my stories to get attention. And I wouldn't say that I was, you know, necessarily churning out clickbait every day, but there's a clickbaity aspect to some of my earlier journalism. There are stories I would take back if I could, you know, now 10, 15 years later. But I think that two things have happened as I've gotten older. One is that I've developed my skills and talents and that's in large part thanks to some great editors and mentors who have helped me get better at the craft. And so I've gotten bigger opportunities to write more, nuanced, longer, more thoughtful pieces. And then, yes, of course, there's like a certain amount of wisdom and maturity that comes with age. And, I'm turning 40 next year. And I think that as a father, as a middle-aged man, I think I tend to be a lot more, I don't know if the right word is generous, but I'm more curious about the world the older I get. When you're younger, you feel like you kind of have everything figured out and you're in a crusading mode. And now I think I'm much more open-minded about how much I don't know. And I go into every story trying to be as open-minded as possible. I have a lot of questions. I find that most people I write about, even public figures who have kind of villainous reputations in some circles, are much more complicated and interesting than people realize. And they're all human beings. They're all, not to get too religious here, but my faith has a part of this too. They're all children of God. And, all of them deserve to be taken seriously and not to be treated too glibly. And so I think that's the biggest thing that's changed in my style of reporting and writing.
After the break, we're going to continue our conversation with McKay and talk more about his interviews today with the governor as well as the owners of the Smith Entertainment Group. Stay with us.
I didn't realize how bad my windows were until I replaced them. You think your house is fine, and then you sit by a new high-performance window, and suddenly you're not freezing in the winter or baking in the summer. Peach Windows and Doors showed me the difference between builder-grade windows and real performance windows. The glass packages, the seals, the insulation, it's not even close. And here's the part I love. It completely changes the look of the house. Cleaner lines, bigger glass, more light. It instantly feels upgraded. Whether you're building $1 million home or you want yours to look like one, windows matter more than you think. Lower energy bills, more comfort, massive curb appeal. Go see the difference for yourself at peachdoorsandwindows.com or visit their showroom. Trust me, once you see the difference, you can't unsee it. peachdoorsandwindows.com.
KSL offers the best daily newsletter in the state. It's the 3 things you need to know. Every weekday, we deliver quality and relevant content to your inbox. No ads, no spam, just the 3 things you need to know to be informed about the world around you. Subscribe today. Visit KSLNewsRadio.com or text the word inbox to 57500. That's inbox to 57500.
Join KSL and the movie show this Friday from 10 to 1 at the Salt Lake NPS store, 1600 Empire Road in Salt Lake City, npsstore.com.
Join us at Camping World's Red, White, and New Trade event, our biggest trade event of the year, May 14th through the 17th. Trade in your RV and get the highest value guaranteed. Then upgrade for less with new RVs starting as low as $94 a month. Plus, take 25% off select maintenance services. Save up to 40% on camp-ready must-haves. And enter to win a new RV. Don't miss the Red, White, and New Trade event at your local Camping World, May 14th through the 17th. We'll see you there.
Doug. There's nowhere I wouldn't go to help someone customize and save on car insurance with Liberty Mutual, even if it means sitting front row at a comedy show.
Hey everyone, check out this guy and his bird. What is this, your first date?
Oh, no. We help people customize and save on car insurance with Liberty Mutual together. We're married. Me to a human, him to a bird.
Yeah, the bird looks out of your league anyways.
Get a quote at libertymutual.com or with your local agent.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
There's danger out there. It lurks on highways and quiet neighborhood streets. It's more likely to kill you than a shark and more terrifying than the biggest snake. Distracted driving claims lives every day. Every notification, swipe, social post, video, or selfie while driving risks your life. So while you might think public speaking or the zombie apocalypse is scary, what's really terrifying and even deadly is distracted driving. Eyes forward. Don't drive distracted. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Any Hour Services can help unclog any drain in your house, whether you have a backup, a clog, or a slow drain you want fixed. Call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
My name is Dale Pazinski. I volunteer with United Way to help the homeless in my community learn computer skills and build a basic resume. I don't just wear the shirt, I live it.
Give, advocate, volunteer, Live United. Go to liveunited.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
Inside Sources.
Well, today, the Deseret News and the Atlantic are teaming up for a joint conversation as part of the magazine's tour of all 50 states.
It's this event that brings writer McKay Compens to Utah.
We spoke with him ahead of today's event, where he's set to interview Governor Spencer Cox, plus the Smith Entertainment Group owners Ryan and Ashley Smith.
So last year, the Atlantic announced a 50-state tour called Atlantic Across America. And it's really born out of, I think, kind of the DNA of our publication. The Atlantic was founded in the run-up to the Civil War. And it had sort of two missions at the outset. One was that it would be a pro-union, anti-slavery publication. It was an abolitionist magazine. It wrote very forcefully against the evils of slavery and in favor of preserving the Union. And then the other was that we would explore the American idea, but from a place that was of no party or clique, which meant that the magazine was not going to take sides in a partisan way. We weren't going to be an organ of an ideological movement or a political party. We were going to invite the best writers and thinkers from across the country to help us explore and explain the American idea. And so this 50-state tour is really an effort to ensure that the very, best minds, best ideas, the most substantive conversations about the American idea as the country turns 250 years old are taking place really across the country. We're not going to contain this conversation to the Acela corridor from, Washington, D.C. to Boston. We want to get out there and have conversations with Americans. A lot of our writers are scattered throughout the country. I'm based in Virginia, but I try to take every opportunity I can to get out to Utah, which is actually where I was born. And we just find that there are really interesting people in every state doing their best in, government and politics, in business and sports and academia and healthcare, whatever, doing interesting things to strengthen the country that we all love. And so this event that we're holding in Utah is an effort to have some conversations with some of the most interesting people doing that work in Utah. So we'll be talking to Governor Cox. We'll be talking to Ryan and Ashley Smith, the owners of the Utah Jazz and the Utah Mammoth. And also one of my colleagues, Evan Smith, who is actually based in Texas, will be joining me for a conversation about the role that journalism plays at this moment in American history.
Yeah, and speaking of this moment in American history, there's a lot going on in the country right now, and I'm wondering if that would play into how this event would unfold. And maybe it's different than it would have unfolded maybe 5 or 10 years ago because of everything that's going on in the country right now.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. We're in an incredibly polarized moment. We are in a moment where Americans are divided by politics, incredibly suspicious of each other. Our society has atomized in ways that I think are really unhealthy. We spend less time with our neighbors. We spend less time in civic organizations and churches and, groups that would otherwise bring us together. And, we are facing a rising tide of illiberalism, both in America and outside of America, where people, frankly, on both sides of the aisle are openly questioning some of the core constitutional democratic ideals that undergirded this national experiment. The idea of free and fair elections, of pluralism, that we can get along with people who fundamentally disagree with us on basic important things. And I think that the aim of this tour, of these events, is to show that we can have interesting, challenging, but ultimately healthy and generous conversations with each other, regardless of political party, ideology, or any other tribe that might otherwise divide us.
If somebody can't attend this event in person, is there going to be a way that they can follow up and watch or listen later?
Yes, it will be. It will be recorded. There will be clips on social media, and it'll be posted to YouTube afterwards. So just Google Atlantic Across America, Utah, or check any of our Atlantic social channels, and you should be able to find the full event.
I have one final question for you, McKay. What is it you hope to find out by the interviews that you'll be conducting in Utah?
I'm really interested in every person that we're going to have on stage there. And I think each conversation will be different. I think with Governor Cox, we're going to talk about the assassination of Charlie Kirk, what he learned from that experience, what Utah might have to offer. Some of the hot button issues in Utah, like this data center, which I know is causing a lot of consternation and debate in the state. I'm going to hold him to that and make him answer some questions. Ryan and Ashley Smith, I think they have some really interesting ideas about the value of live sports in an age that's increasingly defined by AI and social media and everybody being glued to their phones. And so I want to talk to them about that. I want to talk to them about the future of the Utah Jazz after years of tanking, what happens there. And I should also mention, by the way, that these interviews will all be episodes of the Deseret Voices podcast, which I am, in addition to my work at The Atlantic, I've been co-hosting with Jane Clayson Johnson. And so people who are interested in the conversations will be able to listen to them in their podcast feed soon.
That just sounds like a fascinating event this afternoon. And McKay was so generous with his time talking to us about it. And he's a person that just spending that half an hour with him talking about this event made you think that's going to be a fascinating project.
For sure.
In 50 states. They're going to every state.
Well, the Atlantic is doing this 50-state tour, right? I think it's part of the America 250 also, but I really am fascinated that this Utah will be state number 8 where this type of conversation is going to happen. And he's interviewing, of course, Utahns, so the Smiths and then the governor. And one of the things that he told us was that he was really going to push the governor on the response to this data center.
Yeah, and very timely, and I think Governor Cox has to know that that's coming and that he is going to be put in the hot seat a little bit about that. And Governor Cox has been sort of up and down in terms of, he's the peacemaker, he's the agree better person, then he gets on a specific issue and he doesn't seem to agree particularly better, and then he backs off a little bit. I mean, I love the man. He's done a great job for Utah, but boy, he took a hit in the press for the way he responded to that thing.
Well, that event, like we mentioned, it will be this afternoon. It's at 2:00 at the Joseph Smith Memorial Building in downtown Salt Lake City. And it will be available later as podcast episodes. So McKay did mention that he does a joint podcast with the Deseret News. And he and Jane Clayson Johnson each interview different people. And I think their episodes are once a month, maybe. Anyway, those interviews this afternoon will be turned into podcast episodes. So even if you can't show up in person, you can hear it.
And he's also interviewing Ryan and Ashley Smith, who are the co-founders of the Smith Entertainment Group. Of course, they own the Utah Jazz. They manage Utah Jazz.
And the Mammoth.
And the Mammoth hockey team. I mean, two of the biggest, the two biggest franchises in the state of Utah, and just talking about what their vision is for Salt Lake City. And he was going to tease them a little bit about their vision for the Utah Jazz, because they've had rough couple of years here lately.
Well, I learned over the weekend they have pick number 2 now in the draft, so that's good for them. But one of the things I think is interesting that he's going to ask them is to talk about live sports in an AI-driven era. Right. So I know that they're selling out venues, right, that there seem to be really popular. And yet we also talk about how focused people are on AI and how you can't tell the difference anymore. Well, I guess that's one way, right? If you show up in person.
And I was surprised at the Mammoth. I really was. I didn't think Utah was a hockey town. Salt Lake was a hockey town. I really didn't think we would support the team, especially when we had another professional team playing out in West Valley City. And I thought, how are we going to do this? And they've apparently sold out every home game.
Yeah,
I mean,
if
Utah
you build
Mammoth
it, they will come. That's kind of what they were saying.
Has one of the best attendance records in the country, and that just shocked me. And the Jazz, of course, they sell out every game too. They always have.
And the Mammoth got to the playoffs this year, and it's
Right.
only year number 2, which impresses me.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
As a
And they
non-sports
did well. They
person.
got knocked out in the first round, but they
But they
acquitted
did well.
themselves
Look,
won
they
two
had
games.
they had 2 games where they had to do a double overtime, so that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's part of the Deseret News and the Atlantic joint event that is going to be happening in downtown this afternoon. So super interesting conversation, and he's a good storyteller. He's also a good interviewer. You can tell, right? I mean, this is something where he told us, right? This is something he wanted to do from the time he was just a kid.
You know, I was not familiar with him or his writing at all before we did this. You seem to be a fan of his.
Oh yeah. I love his writing. Yeah. And he does long form stories, like thousands and thousands of words. This is just in a magazine article, let alone when you get to book length.
Yeah.
So, okay.
That should be a fascinating event today, this afternoon, 2:00, Joseph Smith Memorial Building downtown here in Salt Lake City.
All right. News of the weekend. A Utah Supreme Court justice has resigned amid an investigation from the governor and the legislature. And my, oh my, does Greg have thoughts? What he thinks this says about the state of Utah's judiciary? Coming up next.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Britt Johnson. KSL's top story this hour. Utah health officials say they're preparing for the return of 3 Utahns who were exposed to the hantavirus on the cruise ship docked in Spain. The Department of Health and Human Services says they're working with them to isolate and watch for symptoms before traveling back to Utah. The Utah Jazz are now looking forward to the next NBA draft after being awarded the 2nd overall pick in the latest draft lottery. Jazz president of basketball operations Austin Ainge spoke after they were awarded the number 2 pick.
Feels great. Big relief. It's a really important tool for us to help build this winning team. So couldn't be more happy.
The Jazz will definitely have their eye on BYU star AJ Damansah, who could be taken by Washington with their number 1 pick. The Jazz will have other star college players to choose from, like Darren Peterson, Caleb Wilson, and Cameron Boozer, who's the son of former Jazzman Carlos Boozer. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. President Trump rejected Iran's latest proposal to end the war. ABC News chief Washington correspondent John Carl.
President Trump didn't say what specifically he objected to in Iran's counteroffer, but the future of Iran's nuclear program has been the major sticking point from the beginning. The president has sent mixed messages on Iran's nuclear material. In an interview last month, he said he didn't care about removing Iran's remaining stockpile of enriched uranium, saying, quote, "That's so far underground, I don't care about that."
The Iranian Foreign Ministry says the U.S. is, quote, insisting on one-sided views and making unreasonable demands. Your money at this moment, we have a little bit of a mixed market. The Dow is off 13 points, but the S&P has gained 18 and the NASDAQ is up 52 points. Warm weather. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 11:01.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
The Children's Center Utah provides a unique service in our communities by meeting the needs of very young children and their caregivers. Here's a Little Minds, Big Hope message from Dr. Kyle Smith, the Children's Center Utah's child and adolescent psychiatrist, during May's Mental Health Awareness Month.
If parenting feels harder than it should right now, trust your gut and know that you're not alone. Early support can make a lifelong difference for your child and your family. Find out more at childrencenterutah.org.
If you're ready to buy a home or sell a home and you're worried about the current real estate market because of what you've heard from some of your friends or family, well, We're here to tell you that you really shouldn't be worried because now is a great time to buy and sell with our friends at the Stern Team, powered by Almada Real Estate.
And here's why. Buyers have more options due to increased inventory, which gives them the power to negotiate for repairs, interest rate buy downs, and closing cost assistance. While at the same time, sellers are still getting top dollar for their homes, with home values that are higher today than ever before. So whether you're looking to buy or sell, the current real estate market presents a win-win opportunity for both buyers and sellers.
But you still do want to make sure that you're working with a team of real estate experts you can trust that can get you some great results. And that's our friends at the Stern Team, powered by Almada Real Estate.
They have helped thousands of Salt Lake City homeowners, and they're ready to help you. To get started, just go to thesternteam.com. That's thesternteam.com, or Google The Stern Team.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by UCCU. Build smart, save big with construction loans at UCCU. Here's Ricky Meese.
Backups on southbound I-15 in South Salt Lake due to a disabled vehicle about 33rd South. It had been blocking a center lane. Crews have just now been able to get it moved out of traffic over to the shoulder. So we are starting to see traffic move through the area once again. Whether you park it, stripe it, or pave it, GoPave Utah's got your asphalt covered. Because, let's be honest, the only thing that should be cracking this summer is a cold drink. Call or click GoPaveUtah.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
All right, it's going to be warm today, 91 degrees, and tomorrow we could break a record if we hit that forecasted 93 degrees. Right now it's 79 and sunny. I'm Britt Johnson from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
There's a shakeup in Utah's judiciary. One of the justices has resigned following a second investigation and leaked information about earlier investigations into alleged misconduct. So Utah Supreme Court Justice Diana Hagan announced her resignation on Friday, and now the legislative investigation into allegations that she had an inappropriate relationship with a lawyer in a redistricting case is over.
Wow.
Greg, tell me, what does this mean?
Let me just back up a little bit and just tell you something. I taught at the law school about 30 years ago. I taught a class called Trial Advocacy, and this is an absolute true story. I had a woman in one of my classes who was far and away the brightest student I had during my entire 8-year tenure there. No question.
Wow.
She was amazing. She was an overachiever. And I told her, I said, you know what? You're going to be on the Supreme Court someday. And it was Diana Hagan. And so I have followed her career. I have watched her on the bench. I've argued cases in front of her. I have found her to be one of the, if not the best judges in the state of Utah. And so I personally, I just think this is very troubling on so many levels. And it was so unfortunate. And I'm not going to place blame on any individual, but I will say that there were some things that were done here that I believe were entirely inappropriate, not the least of which was whatever happened with at the Judicial Conduct Commission, and they did some level of investigation.
Yeah.
They took something on. I've heard different things from different people about what they did, but they decided that there was nothing to do, and that particular decision, whether it was a dismissal, whether they said, hey, we're not going to do anything, went to somebody leaked that, and which is, in my opinion, entirely inappropriate. I talked to one of our legislators who disagreed with me on basically everything I'm talking about here, and I love the man, but we just didn't agree on everything, and I just think that this case became all about a justice who had the courage to write an opinion, to be involved in an opinion about the redistricting.
Yeah.
And she stood her ground, and you looked at the Utah Constitution, and whatever you agree with, whatever you disagree with, she made the decision to support a lower judge's decision. Of course, it wasn't Diana Gibson was the judge that wrote the decision from the district court. Diana Hagan and the rest of the Supreme Court looked at it, and I think that she was squarely in the crosshairs of a lot of very important Utah political leaders after that. from the executive and the legislative branches, and she was, I mean, such courage and such integrity and such brilliance that we just lost is heartbreaking for me as a lawyer. And the last time I argued before her, it was a case that I should have won and I lost. I'll just tell you, this is not she's my homie or something. This is a huge loss to the people of the state of Utah. And just to give you an idea of this woman, she worked for 17 years as a prosecutor. She worked at the United States Attorney's Office. In fact, I think she prosecuted Brian David Mitchell, the kidnapper, the Elizabeth Smart kidnapper. I mean, she was at the top of the game. She was one of the best prosecutors in Utah, and she was so good. And she had an opportunity to take the bench, which she did. I mean, this is a woman who, somebody asked me the other day, oh, what's she going to do for work? Are you kidding me? She's going to make double her salary next year. There's not a law firm in the country that wouldn't snatch her up in a minute. Yeah. She's that good. She's that good. And we just lost one of the best judges in our state's history. So the politics behind this, I'm sorry, you probably have a question here, but I'm devastated by this.
I do think that there are politics involved here, because one of the things with the Judicial Conduct Commission is you told me, like you've taught me, that this is like a trial. Like, you bring witnesses and you have an investigation, and they found not only was there nothing there, but like the arguments were inappropriately made even to bring this forward. And then that information got leaked somehow to the legislature and then sent to the media. And basically we had a trial in public without a chance for anybody to be able to like Justice Hagan didn't have an opportunity to really defend herself. And what's troubling to me is, now I look at the 12 people who have been nominated as potential justices to expand the Utah Supreme Court. This is before Justice Hagan resigned. They're all men. And to me, that says probably that the women judges who could have put their names forward, they don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah, life's too short, and you're under such scrutiny. So maybe a slight correction. The Judicial Conduct Commission didn't have a full-on hearing, I don't think. I think that they looked at the case. So they have a prosecutor assigned, and I think that they looked at it and thought there's nothing here. I mean, at some point, a case is so weak that they don't even have the trial, and they just thought there's nothing to do here. And there really wasn't anything to do. It involves what they said was an inappropriate relationship with a lawyer, some sort of flirting on a text message stream or something. And then she recused herself on all the cases that he was involved in. So I don't even understand the argument here. She took the high road in every respect, but I think that what she did here was she took a fall for the team. She said, look, what's happening with the courts right now is not worth it. And she says this in her letter of resignation, which I've been handed here: I would love nothing more than to continue serving the people of Utah as a Supreme Court justice, but I cannot do so without sacrificing my privacy and well-being of those I care about, and the effective functioning of the independence of the judiciary. So she just thought putting myself and her ex-husband, soon to be ex, I don't know where they are, their proceedings, but 30-year marriage, and she has said it's not fair to have everybody go through this. I mean, talk about a person who takes the high road. Now, who does that in this country anymore? Mm-hmm. Who takes the high road? What have we seen with respect to legislators or respect to other leaders, taking money, receiving funds from people, and no names. I'm not going to go out there, but so much worse happens with so many of our public officials. And who has the integrity to step down? A justice.
So
for something that would have never had taken off the bench.
Yeah. So the Judicial Conduct Commission, you mentioned, maybe it wasn't a full investigation, but they found the accusations to be, and this is a quote, speculative, overstated, misleading, and had very little credibility.
Right, yeah.
I mean...
Which is true.
So
and I'm going to say this.
I think it happens to women, right? I think it happens to women. How many times, sorry, you already kind of alluded to this, but how many times are men involved in even potential sexual impropriety? And maybe there wasn't any here at all with Justice Hagan, but it feels to me sometimes like the guys get patted on the back and say, "Hey, way to go, bro," right? And the women just get excoriated.
No question, it's awful. And you hit it right. You hit it right. If this had happened to a male, I don't think we'd be even having this conversation, a flirty conversation with another lawyer. I mean, with nothing more. I mean, that's what. And I'll tell you about the Judicial Conduct Commission. I just did a trial before them a month ago with a judge, and they hammered us. I mean, they're not easy. We tend to be cannibals a little bit. When you judge your own, you're not easy on it. And I've had 4 or 5 trials before the Judicial Conduct Commission, 6, I guess, and they were not easy on us any time.
I have a really brief question, but this happened after, it was almost immediately after the news broke that she had submitted a letter of resignation. There's a letter that comes out from Governor Cox, Speaker Schultz, Senate President Adams, and then Chief Justice Matthew Durant, and they say that all of them are committed to, quote, working together on potential reforms to the Judicial Conduct Commission, ensuring that it upholds the highest standards of accountability. What does that mean? What are they doing to the JCC?
Nothing. What are they going to do? It's
tell them they don't like their investigation.
Hey, we didn't like the way you did this. There's nothing to be done at the JCC. It's just eyewash. It's just a way to cover themselves for something that I think the whole state looks bad over.
Well, I think going after justices when you don't like court decisions is not the right way to go about it. Yeah. I'll just say that.
Yeah, heartbreaking to me as a lawyer. Well, let's stick on the topic of the law and talk about new worries for lawyers using AI to transcribe interviews and depositions. We'll talk about that after the break.
If your water heater's over 10 to 15 years old, congratulations. You've beat the average. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and I love hearing stories of people having water heaters that are really old and they're still doing their job. Unfortunately, most of us won't be that lucky. And when water heaters fail, it's usually in spectacularly inconvenient fashion. Whether it's an unexpected cold shower when we're already running late for work, or worse yet, coming home to a flooded basement, it's never fun. If you'd like to look into replacing your water heater before it fails, Any Hour Services is having a sale for any homeowners listening. Whether you're looking for a new tanked water heater or you want to see what upgrading to a tankless would cost, the plumbers at Any Hour Services can show you what options are available. And right now, you can save $400 on a tanked water heater or $1,200 on a tankless. If you think you might be interested, call Any Hour Services today and schedule your free estimate. 801-443-7400. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Jeff Kaplan here, and every once in a while, I still do my afternoon radio show from home, which means this entire legendary radio station is depending on the reliability of my Wi-Fi. If it goes out, KSL goes dead. That's why I use Xfinity Wi-Fi. I get Wi-Fi built for speed, powered by fiber with 99.999% reliability. Xfinity gives you the most intelligent Wi-Fi. It can heal itself. Sometimes between my wife, my grandkids, and me doing the show, there's a lot going on in my house, and the Wi-Fi works perfectly. When there's a problem, whether it's streaming, gaming, working from home, or all three, everything in your home works together. And right now, you can lock in 5 years of Xfinity predictability, 5 years at the same price with no contracts or commitments. You get everything you need, the data, the equipment, and the most reliable Wi-Fi. Get online in minutes, same-day Wi-Fi, same price for 5 years, no contract. Xfinity. Imagine that. Restrictions apply. Select plans only.
Stolen Voices of Dole Valley, a gripping new 9-part investigative podcast about a serial killer you've probably never heard of, Warren Forrest, a sadistic predator who prowled the Pacific Northwest in the early 70s. He hid behind the deeds of Ted Bundy, and he's only been convicted of 2 murders, but is suspected of many more. Since the release of Stolen Voices of Dole Valley, a witness identified in the podcast could lead investigators to the remains of Jamie Grissom.
He ran into the woods. He said he stumbled. As he fell down, he looks up and sees the body of a young woman.
And now the FBI is testing forensic evidence that had been collecting dust for decades. This cold case is now red hot. Binge the entire season of Stolen Voices of Dole Valley right now, wherever you get your podcasts. And make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on the latest breaking news.
Utah homeowners, listen up.
If your roof is over 15 years old and you've had recent storm damage, now's the time to act. Hey, it's Josh with IWC Roofing, and we've built our reputation on quality, integrity, and taking care of homeowners the right way from start to finish. IWC Roofing, Utah's highest rated roofing company, is now offering $2,500 off your new roof replacement, plus a free upgrade package to maximize your home's protection and value. But that's not all. We're giving away a free roof. Yep, you heard me. One homeowner will receive a brand new roof free. The winner to be announced August 1st. And here's where it gets even better. When you call and mention this radio ad, you'll receive double entries to win. Appointments are filling up fast, and this offer won't last. Call now for your free inspection and estimate. 801-232-5690. That's 801-232-5690. Save $2,500, get upgraded, and you could win a brand new roof. Call IWC Roofing today, 801-232-5690. Restrictions apply. No purchase necessary. See IWCRoofingUtah.com for details and rules.
We're living through a monetary crime scene, and your IRA or 401k is a key victim. Hi, Dr. Ron Paul here. In 1971, gold was $35 an ounce. After the dollar was cut loose from it, inflation soared, and in just 9 years, gold hit $850. People who diversified into precious metals survived and thrived. Today, we're in a worse position because we face inflation and massive debt. Fortunately, gold is still an option. My trusted friends at Birch Gold Group can help you own gold inside your retirement account without penalties or taxes. Start now by getting a free info kit on gold. Text the word SECURE to 989898. We're facing the same monetary chaos as the 70s with significantly more debt. Get your free info kit from Birch Gold. Just text SECURE to the number 989898.
All in together now, we can make it better. Can we do it? We'll rope it up. Cause we know how to jump.
Moving and eating better every day can help make you and your kids healthier. Search We Can online to find out more. A message from the Ad Council, HHS, and NIH's We Can program.
The new Inside Sources.
Anyone who's ever had to go to court or deal with the police should know and appreciate the idea of attorney-client privilege. But now, thanks to artificial intelligence, there's concern that that privilege might be going away.
Yeah, so a lot of lawyers are looking at this thing called AI note takers, and it's making lawyers nervous because what can happen is this. You have a staff meeting, you have a board meeting, you have something, and someone doesn't show up. So they just send their AI note taker. They just send their recording device or whatever it is. You'll have to explain what an AI note taker is. And it produces a document that is sort of notes of the hearing, notes of the meeting, but it may not necessarily be accurate. It may contain things that happen in the meeting that maybe people didn't want in the notes. And if it ever comes to something we call litigation, it may be discoverable. It may be something you have to produce, even though you never intended it for to be used in a litigation or in some proceeding like that.
That's kind of my question, right? Is when does it become discoverable? And AI note takers, like you can start a meeting and it'll transcribe and you've got these notes and it'll capture the jokes or an offhand comment or something like that. And they're pretty good. Right.
Sure,
they're pretty good. And maybe that's part of the problem is that they're pretty good at capturing these conversations. And I mean, in some ways, it's like a hot mic, right? So,
well, it's also when you think about this, I mean, if I have a group of people in my office and we're meeting to discuss their case, we all expect that discussion is part of the attorney-client relationship. So we can say things that we don't want anyone to hear, like, hey, how do you think we want to settle this case?
Yeah, exactly.
What are the things that we should do? Well, if it's an AI note taker and it becomes part of the AI system, is it still privileged? Is there an expectation of privacy? And there's some courts that have even said, you know what, that's a waiver of the attorney-client privilege. So if I'm in a meeting, if I'm an attorney and I'm in a meeting and somebody who's not there puts it on their AI note taker, I'm going to exclude them from the meeting. Because we're either enjoying the attorney-client relationship or we're not.
Right. And it's interesting the roles that these AI bots can sometimes play. So you mentioned the taking the notes. There's also times where like people are like, we want to include this AI bot as a regular member of our meetings, and people are like, I'm uncomfortable with that, right? Uncomfortable with that. So the New York City Bar Association issued a formal opinion on AI note takers last year. And what they did is urge attorneys to consider whether, quote, recording, transcribing, and summarizing is tactically well advised in the particular circumstances, and also to let their clients know with full disclosure, there's some disadvantages to this, and here's what you might be looking at.
Well, and if you're recording it and you're transcribing it, you have to think this. Okay, we're having this meeting, and let's just assume that the entire world can watch us.
Right.
What would you say? We wouldn't say hardly anything. You'd really be foreclosed on what advice you're giving to a client if you're assuming that
everything's open and public.
If everything's just open, or it could be at some date. You never know.
Right.
At what point these things could be made disclosable, discoverable. So I mean, you can look at this, and I think some people are looking at it like, well, lawyers are just covering themselves, and they're just not wanting to say it. They don't want people to know things. But we have conversations all the time with our clients that are private and privileged, and they come to us for that. The same. Think of a doctor maybe the same way.
Exactly.
You don't go see your doctor and tell him personal things thinking that they're transcribing on some AI system.
Well, one of the concerns, of course, is accuracy, because I do this even just on my little 1-minute videos that I film. I go through and check the transcription, the automatic caption generation, because first of all, one time in 10 months, 11 months, they have spelled your name correctly. Only one time in 11 months.
Mine? Yeah.
Your name, your last name.
I know.
But accuracy is an issue, right? And so like, for example, I say today on Inside Sources, and they think I say today in Inside Sources. It's minor, right? But when you're talking about a court case, if it doesn't get doesn't versus does correctly, that can make a big difference, especially years down the road. So you mentioned healthcare. When I was a nurse, one of the things they drilled into us was if you don't write it down, it didn't happen. And so they're thinking about litigation, right? But you're not going to be able to go back not even 9 months later and say, I can't remember what actually happened.
Right. And think about this. If AI did transcribe it wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
And you go back 9 months later and say, no, that's not what we said. Somebody will say,
it's right there.
It's right here. And you're thinking, well, no, we said we don't want that. Well, it says right here, we do want that.
Yeah.
Well, it didn't hear correctly. It transcribed it inappropriately. And who's to say you're not lying then?
Yeah.
I mean, that's why you take minutes and you take notes, but you don't have an artificial intelligence transcription done.
Well, and so here's a potential scenario, right? So you're an attorney and you're advising an executive, and they're talking about a business acquisition. So maybe you have somebody who says, man, this would really help us dominate the category, right? Well, then you can find yourself into antitrust lawsuits, right? Which is like, we talk in hyperbole all the time.
Right.
So it's a really interesting article that I thought about AI note takers, right? So people use it. They say, it's helpful. It really is helping us keep track of our meeting. And some attorneys are like, absolutely not.
So, in fact, one judge, and this is in the Southern District of New York, said he in fact made a ruling that when you have one of these transcription devices in your meeting, you've waived your expectation of privacy.
And that seems like a really big deal.
Yeah, that you have no expectation of privacy when using a trained model for input, that you make explicit disclaimers. I mean, they're saying don't count on this to you're so I mean, if I tell my clients that in the beginning of the meeting, hey, let's chat. By the way, you're waiving your attorney-client privilege. They're going to say, goodbye. I'm going to go find somebody else.
Well, let me ask you this. What if somebody said, I don't need to hire an attorney? I'm speculating. I don't need to hire an attorney. I'm going to turn to ChatGPT for legal advice, and I'm going to represent myself in court. Where are they in legal standing? Do you have any idea?
Well, so in America, you can choose to represent yourself.
Sure.
You can say, you have the right to be your own attorney. You don't have the right to be somebody else's attorney.
Sure.
You're not an attorney. But you can represent yourself, and whatever sources you use are up to you. I mean, but I think
that would seem unwise.
No. They say that the person who represents themselves has a fool for a client.
Oh,
I mean, that's an old saying. You don't represent yourself, even if you have ChatGPT or whatever. And I've seen people who represent themselves, and you can tell that they're using they found some book or some whatever. You're like, what are you talking about? That's not the way it is. And if you had ChatGPT, I mean, we've seen.
We know they
examples.
hallucinate. Chat hallucinates.
Right, and they make up things.
Yeah,
because they don't want to say I don't know.
They make up legal cases that are bogus.
The cases that don't exist, and maybe the judge will actually read one of your cases and say, you know what, that's not what it says. Then you've lost everything. Once you lose that credibility edge, you've lost everything. So, I've never heard of these AI note takers. Maybe I've been in meetings when somebody was doing that, and I just didn't realize it. But I would certainly agree with the legal theory on this, that there are things that better left to be private, and that's why we have those things privately. The same reason is when you tell your doctor something private, you want it to stay there.
I wonder if it's evolving, right? I mean, I wonder, because it feels like ChatGPT is still so new. It's only 3.5 years. I've said that multiple times recently. But maybe it's something that's evolving where ChatGPT is like open. Like you can access that information. It's out there. But I wonder if this is something where you could use a note taker, but there's like an asterisk that like this is not admissible in a court case, or I don't know. But I just wonder, because you can be helpful, right? You can sort through like lots of conversation and be able to pick out keywords, for example, right, and get a summary. I just wonder if this is like the early days of saying we're going to be really careful here, because we've seen what happens when we're not careful. Right. Thanks, social media.
And the rules of evidence decide what's admissible. So you can't just create a document, to your point, which is a good one, and say, we're doing this meeting and here's what we're doing, but however, none of this is admissible in court. The judge is going to say, I'll tell you what's admissible in court.
You can tell I'm not an attorney.
No. It was a great example. I liked it a lot. I'm going to confess to this crime, but by the way, you can't tell anyone that I'm doing this. You know what I mean? Like,
well, then that's protected by attorney-client privilege, or
something
priest
else,
penitent privilege or something. I don't know.
Doctor-patient. Yeah, there's all husband-wife. We have all kinds of privileges, and we expect those. We honor those. They're part of our American jurisprudence, and we want people to be able to talk and have conversations without having problems.
We're almost to the end of our segment, and I'm seeing on CNN right now that a victim's widow wants to hold OpenAI accountable for the Florida State shooting because he asked ChatGPT when he caused the most amount of damage, and the ChatGPT said, "Go when there's a lot of kids present."
Yep.
So, speaking of AI, all right. Look, the Trump administration launched a new website, mom.gov, in honor of Mother's Day, designed to offer health advice to pregnant women. We're going to talk about that after the break.
It's 11:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Britt Johnson. KSL's top story this hour. Expect some delays getting into Salt Lake City Airport starting today and going over Memorial Day weekend. The airport has started to work on repaving all their roads, and that includes not only the departure and arrival pickup and drop-off points, but also the rental car lanes.
I think it's really important to know that it could be backed up. And so it would be a smart idea, a really wise idea for people to plan extra time.
Airport spokesperson Nancy Vollmer says they'll keep 2 lanes open at all times, but the single exit out inevitably leads to some backups. The construction will go from now until May 27th. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. New polling indicates young people are less hopeful about their job prospects. ABC's Mike Dubusky has more.
Less than half of Americans between 18 and 34 believe it's a good time to find a job in their area. That's according to a new survey from Gallup, which also found 64% of those over 55 report feeling optimistic about their job prospects. Globally, the trend is inverted, with younger people feeling more positive than older people about finding a job. The study considered 1,000 U.S. adults between June and July of last year. Mike Dubusky, ABC News.
Your money at this moment, things are looking up. The Dow has just gained 73 points. The S&P has gained 23. The NASDAQ has increased 67 points. Coming up, it feels like summer. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 11:31.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
Food was a big part of me growing up. It left a big impression on me.
Lavanya Mahate, founder of Saffron Valley Restaurants and Zions Bank client.
Zions Bank has helped me realize my dream. They really see my business through my eyes. I can't tell you how much it means to me.
Zions Bank helps entrepreneurs reach and exceed their goals. Visit the #1 small business lender and learn more about our SBA rate discount at zionsbank.com/SBA. Equal housing lender.
Hyundai gives you America's best warranty on every new vehicle. It includes a 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty, plus 24/7 roadside assistance. That's peace of mind from Hyundai. And these days, that's priceless.
Now, get the Hyundai Tucson for 0% APR for 60 months, plus 0 payments for 90 days. Visit your local Hyundai dealer. Offers end June 1st. Call 562-314-4603 for details.
Since 1947, Whipple Service Champions has been Utah's most trusted name for heating, cooling, plumbing, and electrical services. Got a high-priced repair bill from another company and you're just not sure about it? Call Whipple. Get a free, no-pressure estimate or bring us their quote for an honest second opinion. Totally free. Whipple Service Champions, Utah's first place for second opinions since 1947. Call 385-273-7167 for your free estimate today. 385-273-7167.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. You deserve to love where you bank. Here's Ricky Meese.
We do have a crash westbound I-80 approaching Redwood Road. Only a left lane of travel open, and this does involve a few vehicles, including a big semi with emergency crews on the scene. We're starting to see some backups and some leftover delays southbound I-15 approaching the south interchange from a previous UHP slowdown. With nutrients blended for greener, healthier turf in our local soil, IFA's 4+ Lawn Care program is the ultimate lawn owner power move. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
We have a beautiful sunny day ahead of us, getting a little toasty later with a high of 91 degrees. Tomorrow and Wednesday also looking at temperatures in the 90s. Right now it's 79 degrees and sunny. I'm Britt Johnson from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Well, do we actually care about maternal health here in the United States? The Trump administration says it's taking a new approach to help improve maternal health care. Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy says this is how you make America healthy again.
I have mixed feelings about this, but look, sure. I'm a fan of saying we want to make sure that moms are healthy and kids and babies. Like, we want people to be healthy. Of course we do. Right? So what's a little bit eyebrow raising on this is if you go to the link, it's moms.gov. It's got this picture of a pregnant mom, of course, and it talks about pregnancy centers and quick nutrition facts, including folic acid. I think that's good advice. And then it says, look, you need to start doing Trump accounts, which, I mean, you may or may not think that's a good thing, Trump accounts. And then it starts to pitch Trump RX on lower priced prescription medications.
There you go.
So it's like, wait, what? What are you doing?
Yeah, what we're talking about is a Trump administration launching a website, moms.com, yesterday, Mother's Day, in an effort to help provide resources to expecting women and their families. The site's tagline says it addresses the needs of mothers and fathers who face difficult or unexpected pregnancies and ensuring the well-being of mothers and the health of American families. It sounds good. I mean, the program sounds good. It's just maybe the way that it's carried out.
And it's moms.gov, but it leaves out some things that I think are important. So this month, May, is Mental Health Awareness Month. It also specifically, I can't remember if it's this week or if it was last week, Maternal Mental Health Awareness Week. I think it actually is this week. And it's one of the issues that I don't really see addressed, right? Maternal mental health challenges. And we're talking about during pregnancy and during the postpartum period. They're like, the death rate for postpartum moms is way higher than it should be. And some of that is related to women who are taking their own lives because during this postpartum period, right? It's not in Utah, at least, let me just say that. In Utah, at least, it's not just because there's a medical complication right after birth. Although we as a nation are much worse than most of the rest of the developed world when it comes to maternal mortality, women dying shortly after childbirth. And I'll say this too, sorry.
No, you're good.
That it is significantly worse for women of color. Much, much worse.
Yeah, like something like 3 times worse.
Oh, yeah.
So your take is that this is something that would have been better addressed for something in this.
Well, to be
this
more
is something
inclusive.
that should have been right.
To be more inclusive. So I will applaud the administration for saying we want moms to have a resource, where they can go if they're worried and they can find information. But I will also say that this has been a health department that has undercut the use of SSRIs, for example, to treat mental health, or the use of vaccinations. And now we know that babies are dying from bleeding from a vitamin K deficiency. Babies are born without a high level of vitamin K on board. It comes naturally later on, but we're seeing an increase in newborn neonatal deaths from bleeding disorders, right? So I'm a little skeptical of the advice here.
So, obviously this hits near and dear to you because of your experience as a midwife, but there are a lot of things that pregnant women need to hear about and that are important, and maybe the Trump administration got off a little bit on some things, but there are other things you probably wish they would have addressed as well, as mental health challenges.
Yeah. So look, I do think that there's some good, decent information on here. I will say that it's pretty high level. So for example, if you look at breastfeeding, making the decision, breast milk is the perfect food for your baby. Breastfeeding saves lives, money, and time. And then breastfeeding may be natural, but it's a skill that takes practice. All I'm saying is that is not a lot of information. It's very, very superficial, right? So yes, there are pieces out here that are good. I would also say people really need to turn to their care providers, whoever they've chosen to use as a care provider, and say, okay, what information is it that I need to know? Every once in a while, you'll see a story. In fact, there was a story of the Utah family who was back out for the Boston Marathon, and she had a baby 10 weeks early in Boston. And she went under the advisement of a physician who's like, I think you're fine to go 10 weeks early, but then went into labor and had a baby 2.5 months early, right? So you don't want to have a baby on the plane, and you do your best, but to look on a website, for example, and just say, okay, well, I'm going to take my information from right here that says getting rest when possible and eating healthy foods is good for me. Yes, it is.
Right.
Yes.
Breastfeeding is good.
Yes.
And it's not.
Sometimes it's hard, and sometimes there's complications, and sometimes it's a lot more uncomfortable, painful than moms anticipated. I'm just saying it's a good start, but it's I wish that if you were going to do a site where you can point moms that it were even more robust than it is.
Yeah. So like what? I mean,
like the mental health, for
issues.
example,
Right.
or where to turn if you are worried about potential complications. I mean, when we talk about maternal mortality in the United States and people who die not from the mental health potential causes, but from emergency complications right after birth, we are still looking at hemorrhage, women bleeding to death. We are looking at preeclampsia, so blood pressure related problems during pregnancy, and those can lead to potentially people throwing a clot or something that can cause moms to die. And I have a friend right now whose daughter just gave birth and had to spend 5 days in ICU after that, couldn't even see her newborn, right? In different state, but no visiting privileges for the baby, just trying to keep her alive. I think we sometimes think birth is safe. It is as safe as life gets, but there can be complications. So anyway.
So when you saw this announcement yesterday, the website moms.gov coming out to help provide resources to expecting women, what were your first thoughts? I mean, you probably gave it the benefit of the doubt.
I mean, why are they doing this?
Yeah.
I mean, so yeah. Look, you're not supposed to smoke while you're pregnant. You're not supposed to drink alcohol while you're pregnant. There's some stuff like that. That's all good information. Right. I guess for me, I want to see more about how do we support moms. We're in a childcare crisis, for example. So are we not talking about childcare because we are expecting that moms are going to stay home with their kids? I was lucky enough to be able to do that. Yeah, it takes a lot of sacrifices, but we still had the financial ability for me to do that. A lot of families just don't have that anymore, right? And so that's a problem. In fact, childcare in Utah is one of the things that just comes up over and over and over as being an issue that impacts families and family size in the state of Utah. So I know that the administration is trying to say, how do we increase the fertility rate? How do we get people having more babies in the country? And I think this is probably one way to head that direction. I'm just not sure it's going to get us there.
Yeah. So I wasn't sure what to take of this either. That's why I was interested in your perspective on it, just because of where you've been and what you've learned. But I mean, I don't know. It sounds like a good idea. Health and Human Services is behind it. Robert F. Kennedy, but it's saying the things that we all learned in high school about don't smoke, don't drink, breastfeeding is good. Doesn't really help anybody.
But here's another issue, right? If we know that black women are at least 3 times more likely to die from childbirth than white women, how do you follow that information when you're not allowed to define women as black anymore, right? Because we're anti-DEI. So look, I know that's simplistic, but that is one of the issues that you're facing. If you stop tracking that data, you're not going to get the right picture.
Interesting. Yeah, because you can't track the data because
if it's all in one giant conglomerate,
right? Yeah,
right. Then you're not tracking you're not asking the right questions, and you're not tracking the right kind of data. So I think that's super interesting. I think it's interesting, and one of the things I don't really see on here, and I admittedly haven't spent a ton of time. But I have looked over the whole thing. I haven't seen choosing a care provider, for example. So I haven't seen one that says, look, here are the different kinds of care providers you may choose. One thing that I have seen research on is black women going to black care providers usually have a better rate of surviving pregnancy and childbirth, and also black women who are going to midwives. In fact, there's a national midwife. Her name is Jenny Joseph, but she has done a lot of work with really high-risk populations of black women, and she has dropped their prematurity rate and maternal mortality rate down to at least the same level as white women.
Wow.
Right? And so some of it has to be like, how do you choose a care provider? What are the kinds of questions you ask? What should I know? If I want to reduce my maternal mortality rate because I'm a woman of color, where should I go? That's not there.
Well, I'm glad we were able to get your perspective on that. That was really interesting.
Holly's hot take.
Yeah. When we come back,
One thing I can tell you is you got to be free.
Beatles fans,
I love
listen
the
up.
Beatles.
A new interactive fan experience is coming to London. Details before your next trip across the pond next.
More than 50 million Americans suffer from a form of mental illness.
And Utah isn't immune, with nearly 1 in 3 people dealing with anxiety, depression, or another form of mental illness.
But there's hope. We can all take action to keep ourselves and our loved ones safe.
That's why KSL has teamed with the Huntsman Mental Health Foundation to bring you hope and help you thrive.
It's Healthy Mind Matters.
Find out more at healthymindmatters.com.
Join us at Camping World's Red, White, and New Trade event, our biggest trade event of the year, May 14th through the 17th. Trade in your RV and get the highest value guaranteed. Then upgrade for less with new RVs starting as low as $94 a month. Plus, take 25% off select maintenance services. Save up to 40% on camp-ready must-haves. And enter to win a new RV. Don't miss the Red, White, and New Trade event at your local Camping World, May 14th through the 17th. We'll see you there.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance tech at a university, he knows ordering from multiple suppliers takes time away from keeping their arena up and running. That's why he counts on Grainger to get everything he needs, from lighting and HVAC parts to plumbing supplies, all in one place. And with fast, dependable delivery, he's stocked and ready for the next tip-off. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
911, tell me exactly what happened.
My son and his wife and their 2 children haven't responded.
Susan Powell disappeared on a snowy morning in 2009.
And I said, Josh, where are you? You need to get home.
And her husband will never be held accountable.
Your wife is missing, Josh.
Yeah, but
And you want to think about it for a couple of days?
I'd had this overwhelming feeling that he had done something to her already.
I'm Dave Cawley, host of the podcast cold.
Then he starts making phone calls to Susan's phone.
Hello, Susan. We are on our way back.
It's the deepest of deep dives into this tragic tale of abuse.
Where was Josh when Susan disappeared?
I don't know. Of one mother's desperate attempt to escape.
This is me, covering all my bases.
Help prevent it from happening again.
Our focus has and continues to be finding Susan.
Listen and learn by following Cold wherever you get your podcasts.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. The Kem C. Gardner Policy Institute at the University of Utah helps guide Utah's growth with data and insights that help businesses, leaders, and communities across the state make more informed decisions. Communications Director Nick Theriot joins us with more.
For over 10 years, the University of Utah's Kem C. Gardner Policy Institute, housed in the David Eccles School of Business, has been a vital resource and gathering place for Utah's thought leaders. We shed light on the most important issues impacting our state's future prosperity. With Utah's population projected to reach 5.6 million by 2065, trusted data becomes even more essential for state planners and policymakers. While long-term projections forecast a dynamic future with a growing, diverse, and youthful population, challenges remain. These headwinds include important issues such as housing affordability, traffic congestion, third-grade reading proficiency, and energy supply. By bridging the gap between data and action, the Gardner Institute helps businesses, government agencies, legislators, and other key stakeholders address these important opportunities and challenges and help them make informed decisions. For more information about the Gardner Institute, visit gardner.utah.edu.
By providing clear, reliable data and insights, the Kem C. Gardner Policy Institute helps Utahns better understand what's happening in their state. That leads to smarter decisions around jobs, housing, education, and growth, helping communities plan ahead and improve quality of life across Utah. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
We asked parents who adopted teens to share their journey.
I think my biggest challenge was getting through to him to understand that love is real and you have goals in mind, you have things that want to happen, and I want to help you get there.
Sometimes people tend to shy away from wanting to adopt teenagers because they feel like they've lost so much, but there's still so much to gain.
Just knowing that there's just that other person that cares and loves me out there, it feels great. And they've done so much for me, and I can only be appreciative every single day for just having them in my life.
I think it's been the best decision because I gained a son, and he's the best son ever. If I was down and out, he'd be there.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to learn more. A message brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
Getting help with plumbing repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Inside Sources.
Without any question whatsoever, Holly, the greatest band of all time is the Beatles. And so when we were about to bring this segment out, I learned that our producer, Andy, who I love, doesn't like the Beatles, but he's okay with Eleanor Rigby. Well, not a bad song, but not my favorite either. But anyway, this is for you, Andy.
Eleanor Rigby.
It's a beautiful song, and I'm surprised you didn't know this one either. Did you?
I didn't recognize it by the name, but I recognize the tune.
Yeah,
look, I think it's an age thing for you and I, because I thought the Beatles were great. I still, some of their songs are so iconic, right? So.
Oh yeah. How do you even?
And their album cover where they're walking across the street. I see people recreate that one all the time, right? You've got the
walking
four.
Across Abbey Road.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
To the studio there.
All right. Well, they're heading back to one of their most famous sites in London for a brand new fan experience.
Yeah. ABC's Brian Clark says it's not a concert hall or stadium.
Row, London is one of music's most iconic addresses. It's the headquarters of Apple Corps, in charge of the Beatles' business operations, and the Fab Four performed from the building's roof in January 1969. That turned out to be their final public performance. Next year, the public can visit the building for a 7-story exhibition, The Beatles at 3 Savile Row. It includes access to the roof. More details are coming about dates and prices. Brian Clark, ABC News.
That would be a reason for me to go to London. It absolutely would.
Look, I'm telling you, I'm looking at the Associated Press article about this. Here's my reaction.
Uh-oh.
Because they have Paul McCartney and Ringo Starr who both gave statements, and I'm like, are they still alive?
Yeah, those are the only two that are still alive.
So bless their hearts,
Lennon
right?
and Harrison
But
both passed
yeah, look, I've been to London. I haven't been for, I don't know, it's been a little bit more than a decade. And I went on like the London Eye, which is like super great. I would totally go and see something like this.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. I'm surprised you haven't seen this. The very best show I have ever seen in Las Vegas, maybe the very best show I've ever seen anywhere, was Love.
Interesting.
And I've seen it twice, maybe 3 times. I've seen it. Like I took my wife, I took my daughter. You know what I mean? I was like,
I've
one of those
never
things-
seen a show in Vegas at all. Period.
Oh, it's Cirque du Soleil.
None.
All their shows are off the charts, incredible. But Love is, I think that's what it's called. Anyway, it was the best show I've ever seen.
Well,
I took my daughter. She cried the whole time.
Aw.
Because we listened to the Beatles when she was a kid.
Oh yeah, yeah. Same.
Andy's parents deprived him of that. Apparently.
Okay, I do have a few fun facts. This one will not apply to you, unfortunately, but today is May 11th, and it is National Eat What You Want Day.
Yeah, I'm on a diet. It's working. It's great, and I eat well. No complaints at all. But I'm not going to go home. I'm not going to go have a big old donut right now.
That is so funny. So it's just, it's really funny. So I look at nationaltoday.com to find, the different days, and there's like a bazillion every day. Not really, but there's at least a dozen, it feels like. So this one, it actually said that they did a survey. If you didn't have to worry about the consequences, what is the number one food that you would eat? What do you think it would be?
Chocolate?
No, actually, it's pizza, which surprised me.
Oh, yeah.
Number 2 is pasta, and number 3 is burgers. So you don't get down, chocolate is number 6, actually, but only 9% of people said if they could eat anything they wanted, they would eat chocolate, only 9%.
But what do you mean, anything you want? Pizza? Like,
I know.
Because
if they didn't have to worry about the consequences, that's how it was
right.
phrased. So it could be dietary, like you got heartburn, like I don't know. But
right.
And then anyway, it just goes on from there. Pizza, pasta, and burgers. So anyway, today's National Eat What You Want Day. Also on May 11th, I did want to say this. It's interesting. This is a fun fact, not related. Well, actually, it is related to May 10th because it was yesterday actually, that the sun rose above the horizon in the northernmost city in the United States. It's a city in Alaska. I cannot pronounce its name, but it came up at 2:57 in the morning. It won't set again for 84 days. The sun will not drop below the horizon.
I see it. It goes down to the horizon. It comes back up. It never goes very high either, but it's just like...
It will not go back down until August 2nd. And then, of course, that the reverse is in the winter. I'm sure they have like 84 days in the winter where they don't see the sun at all.
Don't see the sun.
Yeah. So, okay, on this day in 1888, Irving Berlin was born. Do you know where he was born? He was born in Russia.
Oh.
Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, Irving Berlin. So why is he famous for all of our youngins listening?
Great musician.
Yeah,
He
that's right.
wrote
That's right.
Yeah.
Great composer.
Yeah.
Okay, so in 1906, Jacqueline Cochran was born. She became the first female pilot to break the sound barrier. That happened in 1953. And when she died in 1980, she held more records than any other pilot, male or female, in history, at least up to that date. And she said, adventure is a state of mind and spirit.
Good for her.
Yeah.
Good for her.
I have another one.
Okay.
In 1934, this was when a massive dust storm swept across the Great Plains, and it lifted millions of tons of topsoil because they had gone through, right, and there was nothing there anchoring it anymore. It was the Great Dust Bowl, but it was on this day in 1934 that was happening.
You know what else it lifted? Dorothy. Her house went up, and it lifted it so high that it landed in Oz, and the rest is history.
All right.
So the dust storm had a silver lining.
So there's actually 2 Nazi Germany related facts about May 11th. In 1960, Israeli soldiers captured Adolf Eichmann in Buenos Aires in Argentina, where he had fled. And it was in 1987 that the Butcher of Lyon, the former Gestapo chief Klaus Barbie, he was finally charged with war crimes on this day in May 11th, right? Which I think is interesting and sad, but also that sometimes actions, they're going to follow you, and they did, right?
So the war ends in the 40s.
In the 40s, like 45.
Eichmann in 60.
In
so
60?
He lived for 15 years.
In Buenos Aires.
And then... the Butcher.
Klaus Barbie.
Yeah.
Yep. In 1987.
1987. 40 years after his horrific acts.
So in 1981 is the day that Bob Marley died. He died really young. He was only 36, if you remember. He was the Jamaican reggae musician, and he had brain and lung cancer and passed away in his mid-30s.
Yeah, and he's a legend. I mean,
he is a
you
legend.
hear his music now, and you can recognize
Yeah.
his voice and his method all the time.
And then before you do your closing arguments, I have one joke for you, and it's related to all our talk that we've done on AI. So what's the opposite of artificial intelligence?
Tell me.
Natural stupidity.
There you go. Well, on that note, I'm going to say this. The Utah legislature created 2 new judgeships in the Supreme Court and raised the number of justices from 5 to 7. And there are 12 names that are before the governor right now. There's going to be another position opening too. All 12 of those names happen to be men. Now, I'm not going to say anything other than that's probably a troubling stat. And it's something that really shouldn't be happening. And I'll tell you a reason that I think it's happening. 2 judges, one at the district level and one at the Supreme Court level, had the courage to do the right thing. We're talking about Judge Gibson and Judge Hagan, and took such scrutiny for what they did that I think it's going to be difficult for women in the future to say, I've got this cushy job, I'm making a lot of money, but I'd really like to serve the public and take a cut in pay and go be a judge, when they know that they'll be under a radar, they'll be under a microscope like no man is in Utah. And I've only, like I say, I've said this 100 times, I've only done this for 44 years. But what we do with women in the judiciary in this state is inexcusable. And I feel horrible because every judge has the same issues before them. They have the same law before them. They have the same constitution before them. And they issue opinions based on what they have. And when they issue opinions that somebody doesn't like, it's easy to take shots at them. And I just hope that we're not having a chilling effect on having great women serve in the judiciary, because I was so proud of the fact that our Supreme Court was a majority women. It was 3-2 for women. Never in our history. It's not going to be that way again. There's no chance it will be that way again anytime soon, because we just lost one and we're going to pick up 2 men.
Yep.
So and there's going to be another opening for Diana Hagan's position. I'm still sick about the fact that she left the bench. I wish she hadn't, but she did. I mean, she did for her own